Hello, everyone, and welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Topsfield Conservation Commission. Before we begin, I have a quick message to read out. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2022 and H62 as amended by S2506, this meeting/public hearing will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so in the following manner. Zoom meeting. See connection information below to join the meeting by Zoom video conference or calling in by phone. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Topsfield Town website at topsfield-ma.gov. You may also reach out to conservation at topsfield.ma.gov or 978-887-1510 for information or assistance. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. And public participation in any public hearing conducted during this meeting shall be by remote means only. And I ask if members of the public have anything they wish to add to any discussion, that you wait until we have the designated time for input from the public. We have a long meeting ahead of us tonight, so I'm going to try to keep things moving, but I'll just quickly start off by saying hello to our newest commission member, Millie Manning. We're thankful to have you on.
Hey, everybody. Grateful to be here. Thanks for including me. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right, our first item is a request for certificate of compliance, OOC number 307-0844 for 46 Alderbrook Drive, map 68, lot 15, wetlands and land management / Sparadakos. Bill, you have
Good evening.
Already?
I'll get right to it. So the last open matter on 46 Alderbrook was a certificate of compliance for the pool fence in the backyard. And recall that the fence as installed captured about 772 square feet of additional buffer zone area. And you sent us away with marching orders to find an area in the front yard, a minimum of 772 square feet. Work with Jackie on the location, add more plants in this area, come up with at least 772 square feet, and put new markers in along the edge of the new plantings. Then you also wanted to spread more plants over the area in the backyard that wasn't fully planted out. So I do have a plan that I'd like to show you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Small though.
Okay. Better?
Thank you. Yes.
All right, so this was the as-built plan, and we worked on this as-built, showed the area on the as-built plan. So it's an area, we actually had two areas. One was sort of over in here we talked to Jackie about, and she had a good point. That area was outside the buffer zone, so it really, success or failure, it was kind of outside their jurisdiction. So we had Plan B, which was an area closer to the house. After Jackie left, John Sparadakos and I took some measurements, and we come out with this area here. It's 950 square feet, presently all in lawn. And we would vegetate that in a similar manner as the previously approved restoration area that's directly adjacent to it. It would butt up to the existing woods line and as well as the edge of the existing restoration area. So, and then the plant spec is here on the plan. I tried to come up with some species that may not be grazed as hard as from the deer as the original restoration area. So witch hazel, rhododendron, gray birch, pepper bush, they all seem to do fairly well in deer habitat. And then for the back, the same plants. This was an additional 470 square feet. So we're going to put 5 more plants in here. We figured that was easier than trying to dig these out and spread them around. So,
Excuse me, sir. Did anyone else lose the plan?
Yeah, I was trying to add someone to the meeting and then I accidentally clicked stop share. So sorry about that.
Oh. All right, let me try that again. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so this was the area in back. that 470 square feet, the same mix of shrubs, should be deer resistant. So that was our marching orders, and this is the plan. I did give it to Jackie fairly late in the process, but it's simple. The marching orders were simple, and this is the plan we've come up with. So again, back to the commission in your court. We'd like to put these plants in the fall planting season, sometime after September 1st. I think I'd suggest that maybe we do a report in the springtime after they overwinter, and come back to the commission and request a certificate of compliance.
Okay. So if memory serves, the area that was, refigured out by the fence, that this size should be at least 1-to-1 of that.
Yeah, and it exceeds that.
Yeah. And then, with the
We're
similar.
talking 720 to 950.
772 to 950.
Okay.
Great. Jackie, do you have any other comments?
No, I think that answered all my questions I was going to ask. I agree the planting in the fall is a good idea. I wasn't sure if the plants had already gone in, but I'm glad that we're waiting for the fall. And then I agree, probably a report next year would be a good idea, just to make sure the plants are surviving. I know we've already waited 2 years for the prior plantings. But I still think we should wait some amount of time for these new plantings.
I think that makes sense. Conservation markers in that area. I may have missed that.
Yep, there were X's. I could reshare,
okay.
but there
There
were
was the
X's
X's.
on the plan.
Right. Great.
Yep.
Okay. I think other than that, things sound good to me. Area in terms of like number of plants.
You might want to say
You
that
froze
again,
up
Andrew.
Or is that still? Oh, I froze up there. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
In terms of just like the number of shrubs that you would plant in that area, that might have been in the detail that I missed.
15 in the front and 5 in the back.
Okay. All right. All sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm wondering
I
if
have no problems.
I'm wondering if we should write a letter saying that just because it's such a long time that we'd be waiting, rather than continuing it to a date certain, maybe we should write a letter saying we're denying it for now, but that there will be no additional fee if they apply again within a year, and resolve those additional items.
Can we just continue it to your June 2027 meeting?
I guess we could, but I just worry that we won't remember to put it on the agenda if it's that far away.
How do we typically
I will
handle
have
this?
it
I
on my
always-
calendar to do a report in June. So once you receive it, you can add it. It just seems like another step in the process of this very long process to close out this project. So I'd rather not have to reapply for a certificate of compliance.
Yeah, I think I would say in the note that you don't have to reply. We would accept the same materials.
Yeah.
Just we would put it back on the agenda once you request that.
So, I mean, that is essentially a continuation though.
Yep.
Isn't it, Jack? I mean,
Yeah, it's just we can have the letter so that we don't have to remember the exact date and continue it a year out. But I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to just open it up as soon as we're ready. I don't know, either way.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the applicant would prefer if we just continued it, so.
Yeah, I'm afraid that if it's denied, maybe we forget that it was kind of continued, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen in the past files whenever it was like an extended time, they just wrote a letter saying, we'll consider it again for no fee when you come back to us and you're ready. But I don't know if there's a strong reason we have to do that. So we don't have our schedule yet for next year, but
Okay.
If we go ahead with planting in a month or so, we would like to see. I guess we don't want to see a denial, right? If we're going to go ahead with the planting soon.
yeah, I mean, it would just mean that for now we're not granting it, but that doesn't mean we won't as soon as the plants are ready.
Okay.
But if the commission would rather continue it, we can pick a date and continue it.
Yeah, I think just for simplicity's sake, avoiding the letter and stuff, I think continuing it to we can make a guess at what our June meeting would be.
Do you have to have a date, or could we just say continued until June meeting?
Yes.
I think June 16th, 2027.
Just say
probably.
June meeting whenever that takes place.
Yeah.
All right, well, if that's our plan, do I hear anyone make a motion to do that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to continue the request for certificate of compliance OOC number 307-0844 46 Alder Drive, map 68, lot 15, to our June 27 meeting.
Do I hear a second?
I second that motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Maureen
Ben
Bresnahan,
Kayla,
aye.
aye. Sorry, Marie.
We'll figure out our order.
Yeah.
All righty.
So, Yeah, it
we'll
just makes it easier for keeping the minutes if we go in the same order.
Okay, my bad.
no,
I'll go to the end,
Matter.
the list.
all right, we'll see you in June then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is a request for certificate of compliance, OOC number 307-0859, 76 Parsonage Lane, map 24, lot 46, Eaglesham Furrier. Looks like this is was for a septic system replacement. Is there anyone on the call, or well, Jackie, will you take this?
Yeah, I can present this. I visited the site on August 4th. The conservation markers are there and the grass looks good. I can show a photo of the area, but it just, at this point, it was a septic system. It looks now just like a lawn. And I think we're ready for a certificate of compliance.
Okay.
Here it is.
Looks good to me.
Awesome.
All right, do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll suggest a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DP number 307-0859 at 76 Parsonage Lane, map 24, lot 46, with continuing conditions as listed in the order of conditions.
I second that
Wait.
motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Millie Manning, aye. Have I established the wrong order now?
You're
Okay,
good.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Okay, thank you for submitting that. Just for our sake, should we do it by when you join the commission?
Okay. Seniority.
That'll just keep us consistent. Okay, our next item is a RDNI 2026-09 for 102 River Road, map 47, lot 49. Applicant is Wood, request to install a garden shed. Is there anyone on the call that's would be able to give us a little overview of this?
I'm on the call, but I don't know if I'm expected to do anything. I provided all the documentation to Jackie.
Yeah, I can show the photos and everything. It's this is the area where the shed would be installed over existing lawn. And let's see.
Yep.
And that's looking towards the wetland on the side, and the big picture where with the wetland in the back. And then if we look at the plan, there's the wetland, and there's another wetland over here, or no, over here that is not shown on the plan. But I was able to confirm it with the maps. There's also conservation markers back here. I left one at the door when I visited just because one of them needed to be replaced. But other than that, I think the project seems like it would meet the criteria for an exempt minor activity in riverfront. It's over existing lawn. It seems like a very simple shed that is not having a foundation or anything that would disturb the soil.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, can I have a motion, please?
Yeah, I'll suggest a motion to issue a determination of negligible impact with standard conditions for RDNI 2026-09 at 102 River Road, map 47, lot 49.
I second that motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bressingham, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Amelia Manning, aye.
All right, thank you for your attendance and good luck on the project.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is a request for return to compliance enforcement order 2025-02 for 83 Wenham Road, map 71, lot 002, Lagros. So I don't know if there's anyone on the call that wants to go over this or if Jackie's just going to handle it.
Yeah,
So-
I don't see anyone on the call, but I can handle this one. I have photos of the area. This was an enforcement order where there had been some clearing of vegetation, which the property owner had been trying to remove invasive plants, but oops, I tried to share my screen. Here it is. And then had used like heavy equipment to do that, and it had torn up the soil near the wetland. But now it's looking good. There was seed mix and some plantings of blueberry bushes in the area. I think the plantings might have been overgrown by other plants, but at least there's plants there. And I think it looks good now. This area had been disturbed soil and now clearly has a lot of plants growing in it. So I think we can issue the return to compliance letter if everyone is satisfied with that.
Looks good to me. Any other discussion? All right, do I hear a motion?
I'll suggest a motion to issue a return to compliance letter for EO number 2025-02 at 83 Wenham Road.
I second that motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bressingham, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Amelia Manning, aye.
All righty, thank you. Thank you for working to remove invasives, and hopefully going forward, it's a more straightforward process. Our next item is a request to remove hazardous trees in area of conservation restriction held by Topsfield Conservation Commission at 104 North Street, map 7, lot 10, applicant Boniato. If there's anyone on the call that wants to give us an overview of the project, otherwise we can have Jackie discuss for us.
Jackie has been out there. Good evening, committee members. Jackie's been out to our property, so I think she understands it pretty well what's going on, but I'm certainly available to answer any questions that you may have beyond Jackie's observations.
Okay. Could you please just introduce yourself and your address for us?
Yes, my name is Dennis Boniuto, and we reside at 104 North Street.
Okay, thank you. Jackie, if there's anything you want to show us?
Yeah, so I'll share my screen again and show you the map of the trees. I guess I'll start off by saying that this is an unusual decision for Conservation Commission to make. Normally, we are making decisions about whether or not something can happen near a wetland, but this is a decision about a conservation restriction held by the Conservation Commission. So this project was to remove 2 large white pines and 2 dead ash trees, and then trim a few branches that were growing close to the house. The branches close to the house are not in the conservation restriction, and it seemed like it wouldn't be a problem to do that. The hazardous trees are right on the line and potentially within the conservation restriction. So the CR, I read through it. Oh, here's a photo of the trees. But it basically says that the commission would need to write a letter granting permission to allow work to take place within the CR. So you can see here, here's an ash tree and one of the, this is one of the large pine trees. And then, let's see. There's another view. You can see the evidence that the tree is not doing too well. And then see if I can zoom out on this. I don't know if I can. But you can see where the trees are pointed out. And then I think the pink line here is the conservation boundary. So they're kind of right on the boundary. This one looks like it's in the boundary. And that's why, although we can grant an administrative permit for a few hazardous trees being removed, the commission would have to grant permission to work within the conservation restriction to allow that to take place.
What's the point of the conservation
Yeah,
restriction
can you
or the
elaborate on
intent?
that?
So the conservation restriction, it's an area where the property's uses are restricted. So it still belongs to the owners of 104 North Street, but the Conservation Commission happens to be the holder of the conservation restriction and has some authority over what can happen there. The goal is that it's used for conservation purposes. Oop. Sorry, my screen went away. And oh, here I have it here, so we can read the conservation restriction. It's recorded in the Registry of Deeds as a permanent restriction on the property. So here's the CR. And it says it's exclusively for conservation purposes, and it's shown as restricted area on the map. And then if you look through this, there's a portion where it says prohibited activities, which include cutting, removal, or destruction of trees, grasses, shrubs, or other vegetation. And
Can't have an
then,
active mine either.
huh?
It said no mining, I think.
Oh yeah,
I read that right.
there are a lot of restricted activities, but here we're just talking about the cutting of trees or removal of trees. So it's totally up to the Conservation Commission whether to allow those uses. We have a lot of properties in town that are a conservation restriction held by Greenbelt. That's probably the most common, but there are a handful that the holder is the Conservation Commission. and we're responsible for making those decisions about whether it's being used for the conservation values. And then it also says it will be in compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act, of course. If it requires a permit, it doesn't imply any position on whether a permit should be issued. And then somewhere in here, it says that if the commission writes a letter, I forget which page it's on. If the commission writes a letter granting permission to do those activities like cutting trees, I think that's the only way you can do it.
I have a question. Has there been an assessment by an arborist regarding sort of like the hazardousness and proximity to the house? I mean, it looks like some of those trees are very close to the house, but I think tree number 1 on that map, I just couldn't tell quite how close it was and what the hazardous nature was.
So,
Oh, go ahead, Jackie.
oh, you can go ahead. I did see the quote from the tree company, which it said that they had recommended the removal of the pines due to rotten trunks and then the ashes that were dying. It's not a full letter, but we had a proposal from the tree company. Dennis, I don't know if you had something else to add.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. So we really don't want to remove any of these trees because they give us quite a bit of privacy. The issue is the second large pine tree that Jackie showed you is literally so rotted out at the trunk that you could step inside of it. And it can easily hit the house if it falls towards our house. The other issue I have is if it goes the other way, it's going to knock down wonderful, healthy trees that we have that, again, give us privacy and beauty to the area. And so that's my concern with the first big pine. The 2 ash trees, I think they're called. Is that what it is, Jackie? Yeah. The gentleman that came out from Iron Tree, Dennis Silvio, he is an arborist as well. And he determined that the 2 ash trees are also dead. And again, it's the same situation with them. One of them could hit the house. I'm not sure if it would, if it fell the right way, but if it goes the other way, it's going to knock down other trees and shrubbery and the natural state of that habitat. And then the other big pine tree, that one could easily hit the house if it comes down. It's not quite as rotted out as the first one, but if it does come down, it could damage the property, but it could certainly cause injury to people in the house. And that's the same thing with the first pine tree. They're majestic. We wish we could leave them there, but we're really concerned that if they come down, it could cause injury or serious property damage. And then regarding the 2 trees to be trimmed, the issue we have is that rodents are getting up on the branches and getting onto the roof. And so we have one wall on the south side of the house where we think this a couple critters get in there because our puppy goes crazy at night. In the middle of the night, she hears the scratching, the noises, and starts losing her mind. So we've looked around the house and we think that that's how they're getting in. So we're hoping if we could just trim those branches back a little bit, they won't want to make the leap from the branches onto the roof and find their way in. Our roof needs to be replaced, but that's a project that's going to have to wait probably till next year. So I'm not certain that they're getting in on the roof, but I'm assuming that they are because they're bothering the top level bedroom right on that side of the house. So just to reiterate that Dennis Silvio, I thought he had it on here that he's a certified arborist, but he did certify in the proposal that the 4 trees are all dead.
I think this looks reasonable.
Yep, that sounds reasonable to me. Yeah. I mean, normally this would come under a TCAP anyway, which is a Topsfield Conservation Administrator permit.
Which it will also need, but that's separate from the approval for the CR. So
Right. So I think that this is very reasonable, and obviously the protection of, life and property is important. So I think this all sounds okay to me. Any
Thank you,
other
committee
discussion?
members.
You're welcome. Any other discussion on our part? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll suggest a motion to write a letter granting permission for the removal of 4 and trimming of 3 hazardous trees, provided that all work is done in accordance with the approved plan and permit conditions. The conservation agent includes with the TCAP administrative permit.
I second that motion.
And how do we vote?
Excuse me for 1 second,
Oh.
Ben, it was 4 trees plus the 2 to be trimmed. There were 2
Is that not
large
what I
pine
said?
trees. Yeah, I thought you said 3.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
4 and trimming of 3 hazardous trees.
Oh, okay.
Unless I
Sorry
tripped
about that.
Nice. Okay, then it sounds like the motion is as stands and was seconded by Maureen. So how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bressingham, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay. Hopefully everything goes well and you can get the squirrels off there.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time, committee members. We appreciate it.
Yep, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are moving on to the hearings that we have this evening, and I think we have 6 hearings. The first one is a continuation from last month, RDA 2026-01 for 249 Raleigh Bridge Road, map 80 lot 002. I'm going to read the notice that was posted last month. A public hearing will be held by remote participation through video and/or audio conference Wednesday, July 8th at 7 p.m. to consider requests for determination of applicability for after-the-fact fence installation in 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland at 249 Raleigh Bridge Road, map 80 lot 002. Applicant Don Hauser. This is in accordance with the requirements of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed on the meeting agenda, posted with the town clerk a minimum of 48 hours prior to the meeting date, or contact conservation at topsfield-ma.gov. Susan Winslow. And to reiterate, this is a continuation from our previous meeting, but I'll just have Jackie confirm again that abutter receipts were received last month, and anyone who wanted to be in attendance would have.
yes, they were received last month.
Great.
And yeah, so anyone who was there last month could have followed the continuance to now.
Great. All righty. If there's anyone on that would like to give us an update.
Yeah,
I would
hi. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, this is for Alfalfa Farm Sellers, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd actually like to recuse myself just as someone who has been affiliated with Alfalfa as a musician from a conflict of interest perspective. So I'm just going to drop off the call, and if you let me know when to rejoin.
Okay. Thank you. I think if you turn your microphone and video off and just don't add anything to the discussion, that's fine. I don't think you need to leave the meeting, but I appreciate that.
Yep.
So we still will have a quorum to discuss this. So thank you.
So yeah, I can start off. Thank you again. Just for the record, this is Kevin McHugh with Lindbergh Consulting. I'm just here to represent Alfalfa Farm. And so just to get right into it, I know last month we talked about the mesh fence that had been installed. And I think the only issue that was came out of that was there was concern with the fence had been constructed and it was basically down touching the ground. So there wasn't enough space for critters to be able to pass beneath the fence. So there was a request that the bottom of the fence be raised 6 inches off the ground. And the property owner and the site contractors working out there actually went out there the next day and raised the fence. So I have some photos. If I could share my screen quickly, I can show you. Hopefully they come up okay. And can everyone see this?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the photo taken of the fence. You can see it's been raised. We do have the board on the bottom, as we discussed. So all that board really does, that just covers the sharp any potential sharp edges at the bottom of the mesh fence. But I went along and measured it. It's over between 6 and 7 inches. It's more like 7 inches of spacing between the ground surface and the bottom of the fence, and that's along the entire length. So I can show you a couple of other pictures. Hopefully they'll all come up okay. here's just another one looking along the fence, the lengthwise, looking back from Rowley Bridge Road is behind me, looking forward off towards the field off ahead in Route 95. You can see the fence has been raised all the way along. Again, it's 6 inches
I
or
don't
more.
think the picture changed.
Oh, it didn't change. Okay, sorry about that.
Ones.
I'm talking to myself. Let me stop sharing and I'll share again. How's that?
Not yet.
Looks
Yep.
dark.
There we
There
go.
you go.
All right, there you go. So that's the one I was talking about. So again, looking Rowley Bridge Road to my back and looking towards Route 95.
Mhm.
So it's pretty consistent the whole way, more than at least 6 inches, if not a little bit more, of spacing along the full length of the fence. So and hopefully that satisfies the concerns. And glad to answer any questions or anything.
No, I think this is the only thing that came out related to this from our last meeting.
I don't have any other questions.
At this point, I will open the floor to any of members of the public that would like to give their opinion related to this fence project. Hearing none, if there's no other discussion, then I think we're ready for a motion.
I will suggest a motion to issue a -5 determination under the Wetlands Protection Act and -6 determination under the Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw for RDA 2026-01 at 249 Rowley Bridge Road, map 80, lot 2.
I second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bressingham, aye.
Ben Kyla, aye.
And Millie Manning is recusing herself. So, all right, thank you.
Great.
Looks good.
Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty, moving on to our next hearing. This is also a continuation from our previous meeting, but there was no discussion at our previous meeting because we did not have a quorum. This is RDA 2026-02 for 69 Washington Street, map 32, lot 14, Topsfield Housing Authority, sidewalk and parking lot reconstruction. I will read the notice from last month. A public hearing will be held by remote participation through video and or audio conference Wednesday, July 8th at 7 p.m. to consider a request for determination of applicability for sidewalk and parking lot reconstruction for Little Brook Village in 100-foot buffer zone bordering vegetated wetland at 69 Washington Street, map 32, lot 14, applicant Topsfield Housing Authority. This is in accordance to the requirements of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed in the meeting agenda posted with the town clerk a minimum of 40 hours prior to the meeting date, or contact conservation@topsfield-ma.gov, Susan Winslow. And again, Jackie, the last month, the abutter receipts were received, and so they would have known about this continuation from the previous meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If there's anyone from the applicant that would like to give us an overview of the project, please do. And introduce yourself if you can.
Right. Good evening. For the record, my name is Catherine Andrewchuk. I am with Allen and Major Associates, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Topsfield Housing Authority. I will share my screen.
Please, thank you.
You can see the plan.
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm here on behalf of the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority has one state agency development. It is 55 units of elderly and disabled units, 1-bedroom units. And the Housing Authority is proposing, or they have a current maintenance project to improve the bituminous sidewalks, drive aisles, site accessibility throughout the site. And a portion adding to this maintenance repairs is there are 5 ADA units on site, and particularly at Building C, one of the ADA units is fully within a 100-foot buffer zone. So there's one access into these units that's paved for the elderly residents, but the rear units, the door just opens out onto a concrete pad, and then there's a step onto disturbed earth. So included in the maintenance project that's happening right now for the paving and the sidewalks, the Housing Authority is proposing to add a second means of egress to the back of these ADA units. That said, one of these units is fully within a 100-foot buffer, so there will be an increase of impervious surface by plus or minus 342 square feet. That's the minimum 4-foot sidewalk. So the proposed improvements have been limited to the minimum requirements that ADA allows. And also the back of these units, the slope quickly slopes down. So a proposed black chain link fence 4 feet is just proposed along the downslope side so that anyone on the walking isn't going to fall down the hill if they're out there. There was a previous reasonable accommodation sidewalk that was done at one of the other ADA units back in 2018. That project was granted, from the conservation, negative determination with noting that the work would not significantly alter the resource area. And the Housing Authority now, with this second means of egress for an ADA unit, is requesting the same negative determination. Are there any questions? There will be, silt set or silt fence, core logs installed between the resource areas to protect any runoff during construction that may or may not happen.
Have those always been ADA units?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay.
There's one more. Yeah, these are the 5. There's one here, 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 and here. All these 3, lack of better terms, but A, B, C, those have all received a second means of egress just through reasonable accommodations. But now with this larger maintenance project, we're trying to provide that second means of egress with this project going on.
Okay. Jackie, do you have any comments before we begin discussion?
Yeah, I can show photos if you don't mind me sharing.
Yep. And I have some too, either way.
But
yeah, here's a photo of
sorry if I didn't
sorry.
I didn't
Here's
mean
one
to cut you
photo
off if you were still going there.
Yeah, I think one in the back, one of the areas in the back where you can see it slopes steeply down to the wetland. And let's see, here's one of the concrete pads that would have the walkway coming from it. It is a lot of like just dirt ground back there. And then here's another area, I think, of where the walkway would go. And then this was the area where the dumpster is. I think, did we change the plan about the
Yes.
dumpster?
So where this area, this is the lower parking lot on the opposite side of the site. I guess plan south, but there's another wetland pocket back there, but the area of disturbance has been limited to staying within the existing footprint of what is already impervious surface.
Okay. Yeah, so I think there had previously been an idea about putting in some new impervious there, but no longer.
Yep.
Oh, and then I had an example of what the pathway, what one of those pathways would look like. Is this accurate to what the new pathway would
Yes.
look similar to?
It would look similar to that.
Somewhere
Yep.
else on the site.
With that fence too.
With the
that you
fence,
talked
yeah.
about. Good.
Yeah, black chain link, 48-inch. So open, it will just go along the length of the sidewalk. So open ends on both sides. If it needs to be raised, we can raise it the 6 inches. That's fine. But there will be, again, it's just along the pathway. Both sides are open.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I given that it's going to be enclosing basically a tiny section in between the fence and the house, I'm not sure that there's any need for wildlife to get up
Okay.
near the house. So I don't think that raising it is going to be of huge importance to me. Obviously, the rest of the commission members can have their own opinions on that. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's important to have these ADA sites be actually ADA compliant, and I think that this is a very reasonable, way to make that happen. So I personally don't have any issue with this. Yeah.
I don't either.
Okay. I think at this point, I'll open it up to any members of the public that would like to give any opinions or ask any questions about the project. Okay, hearing none. I believe I see a note here about waiving some local filing fees.
Yeah, because it's a state funded municipal property. But
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's reasonable to me. So I guess I'll take a motion related to the fee waiver.
I'll suggest a motion to grant a waiver of local filing fees.
Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay.
And did we open to public comment?
Yes.
Andrew did, yeah.
Okay.
No one.
Okay. I didn't hear anything. So.
So I have some questions on procedure here.
Sure.
So there's an open issue whether the request for determination was the right filing or if we needed a notice of intent. And Jackie, can you speak to that kind of procedurally?
Yeah.
Whether this actually fits into the request for determination process or if we really should have had a notice of intent?
Okay, yeah, so for the request for determination process, there are sort of two things we need to decide is whether the project needs an order of conditions under the Wetlands Protection Act and whether it needs an order of conditions under the bylaw. And then there are the determinations we would make. So for under the bylaw, it would be a -6 determination is what would approve the project. That would say that there's no need for a notice of intent under the bylaw. And the considerations for that would be our bylaw. And then also just if the commission considers it as a project that would alter the resource areas. So I had suggested a local only notice of intent, but they decided to continue with RDA, hoping it could get approved as just being a minor project. But under the bylaw, we do have a limit of 400 square feet of the buffer zone being altered before a waiver was required. The prior project, I think, was around almost 300 square feet. So I can see why that would have been easier to approve as a determination of applicability. But then the new project puts it over the 400 threshold. So I think that's one reason why we might hesitate to approve it with the determination of applicability. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, though, I do think this fits within the exempt activity of converting lawn to uses accessory to residential structures. For the areas that are at least 50 feet from the wetland, there are 10 square feet that would be within 50 feet of the wetland. So you could say that maybe it's not a minor exempt activity because of those 10 square feet. But then you could still make a -3 determination if the commission agrees that it would not impact the wetland if it's done according to, or if it's conditioned appropriately to not alter the wetland. So those are kind of the considerations. There's also it can be a split determination. You can say that it requires a notice of intent under the bylaw, like positive under the bylaw, but negative under the Wetlands Protection Act. And if that was the case, they would only need a local only notice of intent application. It wouldn't have to go to DEP. It wouldn't be as many steps in the process of applying for the notice of intent. But yeah, I think under the local bylaw.
Can you point to where in the bylaw you're referencing?
So it's in the waiver section where it's like the section A, I think. You know how there's the subsections A, B, and C are the first waiver section, and then the next section has the subsections A through D, which are the 4 criteria. Section
So
A,
those
B,
are in the
and C.
regulations, not the bylaws.
Sorry, the regulations under the bylaw.
So
That's
the
what I meant to
Topsfield
say.
regulations under the bylaw, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the commission can decide that if you think it's not going to, if you think it's minimal enough not to require a notice of intent under the bylaw. I mean, I think that's the only decision to make, but if it were a notice of intent, it would require a waiver. So that's
okay. So I just want to make sure that, you know, I think that we agree that a good outcome would be to allow this work to be done, but I want to just make sure that procedurally we're kind of being disciplined about how we approach these things. And as Jackie has pointed out, our bylaws / regulations have requirements that are more stringent than the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. And, you know, the 400 foot, so kind of, we've looked at this before. I think, Ben, that you participate in some of these conversations. You know, our regulations say no work shall occur in the setback area except provided, paragraph G, which is maintenance, or paragraph I, which is waiver. So this is kind of an unambiguous. No work shall occur except for maintenance or waiver. And considering these things, so existing lots. Do we have, like, so Jackie, I just want to track through this because I think we need to be rigorous about how we get to the answer here. So Jackie, kind of this subsection 2 in the regs, no work shall occur in the setback area unless it's maintenance or waiver. And maintenance,
so I think
commission
the portion that's repaving of the parking lot could probably be considered maintenance, which
right.
is
So this
the majority
is,
of the
I
work
guess I
area.
can share my screen. The commission may allow maintenance of those wetland uses such as road drainage, sub-road drain, aegis, agricultural, and the like, which already lawfully existed at the time of adopting of these regulations. Such maintenance projects require a request for determination or a notice of intent unless exempted in writing by the commission. Any enlargement, modification, or substantial improvement to such pre-existing uses requires the filing of a notice of intent. So maybe sub G maintenance doesn't apply to the enlargement of the existing paved areas.
Let me ask a question. Is
Yes.
this required to remain ADA compliant? Having 2 forms of egress? Because if the original intent was to have that, are we not allowing them to maintain that status, even if that status has changed?
Well, I think that like the ADA obligations might read into or inform the waiver analysis. So I guess, am I can I share the screen?
Please.
And I
Sure.
guess then the other question I have is, are we going to gain any more information by having a local NOI? Because if we're not going to gain any more, I'm okay as is.
Well, in part, this this question is inspired in part by Jackie and my work on making revisions to the regulations under the bylaws. So I don't think that we fall under sub G that for maintenance because it's qualified any enlargement well would require a notice of intent. So kind of am I successfully sharing my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So sub G, the maintenance exemption, requires these things, and the request for determination, is used for straight up maintenance of these structures. However, this next paragraph under sub G says any enlargement of such pre-existing structures requires the use of a filing of a notice of intent. So kind of procedurally, if we're looking to this sub G, then we need a notice of intent to comply with not the state WPA, but Topsfield's bylaws / these regulations. So procedurally, a request for determination for the Topsfield byport, as Jackie said, the Topsfield piece, which then takes us to the waiver provisions. And the waiver provisions requires a vote of at least 4 of the members present. And, one of the regulations, so this is the setback, consideration of the particular case where a waiver request has been submitted in writing addressing these criteria. No alternatives, mitigating measures. If we're altering wetland bank, replication applies. I don't know if that's the case here. And then waiver is necessary to accommodate an overriding public interest. This is one instance where maybe the ADA compliance would satisfy the overriding public interest, but it seems just for us to apply the procedures in the regulations as they exist as of today, we would have needed a notice of intent to consider the enlargement, i.e. Maintenance under sub G, or a request for waiver under sub I. So even though I agree with the outcome, permitting this work to be done, I think procedurally, we don't have the pieces in place to do it. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah. I think I have to agree with you, Maureen. Like you said, I think that this work, can happen, but I think from an administrative and procedural perspective, our regulations are fairly clear. So I appreciate you going into that depth. So where does that put us?
Jackie, do you have a recommendation for, an expeditious path forward?
So I think if we are considering the current plan to be something that we can grant a negative determination under the Wetlands Protection Act and a positive determination saying it requires a notice of intent under the bylaw. We could either make that decision based on this plan, or I think we could even make like a split determination where we say that the portion of it that is just repaving existing could be like a negative under the bylaw. So we're checking off both negative and positive under the bylaw. We could say that portion is negative, and then the portion that's new pavement is positive. Just so that then that portion of the work could be permitted to go ahead. I think,
And I think that's what we would request right now, is if we can get a negative determination for the work that's already in impervious, and we will eliminate the scope of providing an ADA walkway.
do you think you would
Right.
pursue the notice of intent under the bylaw?
I have to talk to the client and the state about that.
Okay, so I think that split determination, although complicated to explain, I think might be the best path forward for everyone here. Just to give that option and explain that that's what we would need in the future for the new walkways, but then that the repaving portion could go ahead under the RDA or the DOA. If the commission agrees with that
Yeah,
approach.
I think that makes sense.
Why, can I ask one more question? Why did the applicant think an RDA would be sufficient?
Because we had issued an RDA in the past on the 2018 portion, and haven't run into an issue with this in the past on other projects, not in this town. So understanding that there's the 400, but normally something with this negative impact or, you know, insignificance, an ADA compliance and making it right, we've gotten negative, you know, results in the past for any maintenance repairs or ADA compliance repairs. But again, the 2018, it was an oversight on the 400 square feet, but because we had one walkway previously approved, there's also, it was within the existing footprint, but this site also has had repairs done on the sidewalks, and that was also granted, I think, in 2015. I wasn't part of that project, but this site also received an RDA negative determination. So all work that's been done on this site previously has always received a negative determination of applicability on the site, but this added square foot in the back, aside from the 2018, that is a little new.
Okay, so is your request path forward that we kind of bifurcate this and give you a determination on the repair work and a separate determination on the enlargement work?
Yes.
Okay. I think that seems reasonable.
Yeah, I guess the alternative would be continuing it and having a modified plan for us to approve in full, but I think this might be the easiest way to move things forward.
Who wants to make this motion?
I think just given that we've had a decent amount more discussion, if there's anyone from the public that would like to discuss anything before we go forward, I just want to give that opportunity again. Hearing none, and if there's no more discussion on our part, I think we need to start by closing this hearing. And I'm realizing that we didn't close the hearing on the previous discussion that we had as well. So we'll need to close that once we're done here. So yeah, a motion to close the current hearing, please.
I motion that we close the current hearing.
Do I hear a
I
second?
second that.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay. And now a motion as we discussed.
Yeah, let me trying to get to my notes.
So I would recommend positive 2B just saying that we're not confirming the wetland boundary. -3, saying it can be conditioned not to alter the wetland under the Wetlands Protection Act. And then -6, only for the portion that is repaving of existing or maintenance of existing impervious surfaces, and +6 for the portion that would be a expansion of the paved surfaces under the bylaw.
You want to go, Maureen, or I can try it?
Why don't you try it?
All right. I'll make a motion to not confirm the wetland boundaries is accurate with a +2B. And that a -3, that activity within the buffer zone can be conditioned to not alter the bordering vegetated wetland. And then we will issue a -6 for maintenance work on pre-existing paved surfaces. And we will also issue a +6 on the expansion that was proposed for behind the building.
Could you just amend your motion to include the address and lot numbers?
Sure.
Yeah, and also add in the condition that the applicant will follow up with Jackie with updated plans outlining the sections that are maintenance versus the sections that are expansion, so that we've got paperwork for that piece.
And I will amend my motion to include the address and reference RDA 2026-02 for 69 Washington Street, map 32, lot 14, and condition that they will update the drawing to properly denote the maintenance areas as determined.
I second that motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Calla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay. Thank you for coming before us, and hopefully you can get started on the parts that were approved, and we'll hear from you soon on the other parts.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go any further, could we just get a motion to close the hearing for 249 Raleigh Bridge Road, please?
I will make a motion to close the hearing for 249 Raleigh Bridge Road, map 80, lot 2.
I second that motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Calla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay, thank you. And that was on me for forgetting that. So thank you, everyone. All right, on to our next hearing. This is for ANRAD 307-0876 for 81 Howlett Street, map 67, lot 76. Clemenzi and DeRosa Environmental, request for verification of wetland resource area boundaries. And I will read out the notice that was posted. This is a public hearing will be held by remote participation through video and/or audio conference Wednesday, August 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. or time case is reached to consider the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for verification of wetland resource area boundaries at 81 Howlett Street, map 67, lot 76, applicant Clemenzi. This is in accordance with requirements of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed in the meeting agenda, posted with the town clerk a minimum of 48 hours prior to the meeting date, or contact conservation at topsfield-ma.gov. Signed, Susan Winslow. And Jackie, we have abutter receipts for this.
Yes, they're received.
Okay. If there's anyone on from the applicant that would like to go over this.
Hi, my name is Jordan Folds with DeRosa Environmental, and I'm representing the property owner for 81 Howlett, and I can share my screen of the plan.
Yes, please.
So as Andrew mentioned, we're looking for a verification of the wetland resource areas on 81 Howlett Road. There is an intermittent stream and there's a bordering vegetated wetland at the bottom. The stream is not shown on USGS maps. and it has a watershed size of less than 0.5 square acres, classifying it as intermittent. It comes from a culvert under Route 1, and the site has a very steep slope with a clear channel for the intermittent stream. And accept any questions.
I visited the site with Jackie and Millie. I think, I mean, I don't know. I haven't done too many delineations myself, if any, but if Jackie seems that thinks that they all look good, then all look good to me.
Yeah, I thought it looked good.
Any other discussion from the commission? Hearing none, I'll open it up for public comment. Hearing none, could I have a motion to close the hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
And do I hear a second? Might be muted.
I second the motion.
Thank you. And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye. Sorry.
And Kyle, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay. And again, hearing no other discussion, do we have a motion to approve the delineation?
I'll suggest a motion to issue an order of resource area delineation approving flags TOBA1 to TOBA21 and WFA1 to WFA5
Address.
for 81 Howlett Street, map 67, lot 76.
I second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kyle, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Alrighty. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to our next hearing. This is for NOI 307-0875 for 29 Rowley Bridge Road, map 55, lot 8, Turner and DeRosa Environmental. I will read the legal notice. Let's pull it up. This is for 29. Okay. A public hearing will be held by remote participation through video and/or audio conference Wednesday, August 12th at 7 p.m. or time case is reached to consider the notice of intent for addition, walkway replacement, relocate septic tank, remove 2 trees, plant 2 trees, implement planting plan in 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland and bordering land subject to flooding at 29 Rowley Bridge Road, map 55, lot 008, applicant Turner. This is in accordance with requirements of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40 and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed in the meeting agenda posted with the town clerk a minimum of 40 hours prior to the meeting date or contact conservation at topsfield-amy.gov, signed Susan Winslow. And if I'll ask Jackie if the abutter receipts were received for this.
Yes.
Okay. If there's anyone from the applicant that would like to go over it, please do.
Hi, Jordan again with DeRosa Environmental. I'm here representing the homeowners at 29 Rowley Bridge Road, and I have a short PowerPoint to share.
Please do.
As discussed, this is the notice of intent for 29 Rowley Bridge Road. The existing resource areas are bordering vegetated wetland, associated 100-foot buffer zone, and bordering land subject to flooding. The existing conditions are there's a single family home, an existing deck, an existing walkway. This is an image of the proposed work area. And the proposed conditions are all within existing lawn or previously disturbed area. There's a proposed addition, which is going to be right adjacent to this deck. There's a partial removal of the existing walkway and a construction of a new walkway. The relocation of the existing septic tank, removal of 2 trees, installation of 2 red maple trees, and an implementation of a native species mitigation planting plan. This is an image of the project elements plan. As you can see, the addition is adjacent to the deck. The walkway is proposed to be moved slightly, and the septic tank is proposed to be relocated further away from the dwelling. And then I have the mitigation plan. Approximately 1,850 square feet of native plantings are proposed to be planted in this green highlighted area over here. There's proposed removal of existing debris of approximately 1,000 square feet, and that's in this area right over here. Some of the native plantings that are proposed to be planted are arrowwood viburnum, witch hazel, huckleberry, hay-scented fern, eastern showy aster, red fescue, little blue stem, and then the red maples that I mentioned earlier. And I will take any questions.
How'd the square feet line up on mitigation?
The mitigation is, let's put it up. So the project proposes approximately 1,985 permanent and temporary impacts, and the mitigation total is 2,850. So approximately 1-to-1, a little over.
Can you blow up the image so we can see? It's
Yeah.
hard to tell what's within the buffer zone and what's outside of the buffer
So
zone.
the mitigation area is all within the flood zone. So none of the proposed project is within the flood zone. Let's see, this blue line is the 100-foot buffer zone.
So your arrows are pointing to, are the arrows pointing to structures that are outside of the 100-foot buffer zone? It looks like it's right on the edge. The relocated septic tank, like.
It's right outside the 100-foot.
Okay.
It's yeah.
Looks like it's right on the edge. So the things that are in the buffer zone is the proposed addition, the proposed walkway.
Yes.
Is the walkway?
So there's an
What's
existing
the net
walkway.
impact? Yeah.
So the existing walkway is proposed to be removed and just moved slightly to go from the addition to this other dwelling on the left. Let's see. I don't have the calculation for the walkway, but it's going to be relatively similar size to what's existing.
Jackie, do you have any comments while we discuss this?
So I believe it requires us to vote to grant a waiver request because of the alteration in the buffer zone. But there was a waiver request, and it argued that the mitigation measures will provide an environmental benefit in the public interest and increase the function and value of the resource area. And then there is mitigation provided in the form of debris removal and the planting area.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think that the mitigation area looks sufficient for the work that's being proposed. I can't, I mean, with an addition, there's not many alternatives, so I think that makes sense. Are there plans to install any markers around this restoration area to kind of permanently denote it?
We could definitely include that if it's something the commission's looking for.
I always like to see those on these restoration areas, just so that 20-30 years from now, there's a permanent marker there. Maybe 3 of them.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously the rest of the commission can give their opinions on that as well.
How big is that? 3 seems fine.
And I'm okay to let you and Jackie discuss the optimal location for those, unless we want to hash it out now.
That sounds good. We can discuss it after.
Okay. Any other discussion within the commission?
So our existing waiver provisions, requires affirmative vote by at least 4 of the members present. So we need 100% for everybody who's on the call. And we got the waiver request, and the commission needs to find, so I'll share again. So, I find more. I find this section, I find our waiver, am I successfully sharing?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Let me try that again.
Yeah.
Am I sharing? Yeah, I'm sharing
Yeah.
So am I sharing now?
Yes.
Okay. So again, coming back to, these are requirements that are specific to Topsfield that are more stringent than the State Wetlands Protection Act. We say no work in the setback area unless it qualifies under G as a maintenance. Maintenance projects request for determination or notice of intent. Appropriate measures, and then any enlargement, modification, or substantial improvement of pre-existing uses requires a notice of intent. So if we're going to call this maintenance, we need to kind of contemplate this requirement, whether it's an enlargement, whether it would qualify as maintenance, as an enlargement, modification, or substantial improvement takes it out of maintenance, which then puts us into waiver. And a waiver was requests, but just kind of to walk through the analysis, we need to all agree that each of these 4 conditions are met. So no alternatives would allow it to proceed in compliance with regulations. So no alternatives. And then, very important, this conjunction and mitigation measures are proposed that allow the project to be conditioned so as to contribute to the interests. And I don't think that C is qualified for this fact pattern. We're not altering the wetland, the bank, or land under a body of water. So I don't think we need to. C is not applicable. And then D is the sticker. Waiver is necessary to accommodate an overriding public interest, or that it is necessary to avoid an order so strict that it constitutes a taking under the 4th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So no assertion was made that this was a constitutional taking, and this is full-blown body of law. What is a taking under the Constitution? So we all need to agree that there is an overriding public interest, and overriding public interest is kind of a legal term as well, but we're not, the regulations don't say overriding public interest as, understood under Massachusetts law. So this is the piece that I think remains in question.
Okay. Does it make sense for,
yeah,
sorry, Mark. Does it make sense? Oh, continue, my bad.
Yeah, whether permitting this work, if we're satisfied there are no alternatives, that the mitigation measures are sufficient, and that there is an overriding public interest here. Currently, as our regulations are written, those are the standards we have to satisfy.
Yeah. Jackie or Jordan, would it be possible to bring up the waiver request that was submitted so that we can go over what the applicant gave?
Yep. Have it open right now.
So have I stopped sharing?
Yes, and thank
Yes.
you very much, Maureen, for going over that again.
Yeah, and this is something that we're talking about, maybe the regulations need to be amended because this and requiring each of those 4 conditions to be met doesn't really give us a whole lot of room to waive the Topsfield specific requirements.
So to address your concern for D, although the proposed residential improvements do not serve an overriding public interest, the mitigation measures will provide a measurable environmental benefit and enhance the buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland that's currently existing lawn. And then we provided alternatives and we provided the mitigation as required.
I like it. You got creative.
Okay.
The area where the work's being done is currently established lawn, right? And you're saying that you are providing better habitat and enhancing the buffer zone.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion within the commission for the moment? Okay, then I'll take any comments or questions from the public at this point. Hearing none, and if there's no more discussion within the commission, I think we'll start off with a motion to close the hearing.
I'll suggest a motion to close the hearing for 29 Raleigh Bridge Road, map 55, lot 8.
I second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
I'm stuck. I really, I don't like our, oh, all right. I second the motion to close the hearing.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kella, aye.
Okay.
Manning, aye.
Okay, thank you. So our next item would be the discussion of the waiver. So before we make the motion, we can continue to discuss this.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries.
I think that our hands are kind of tied. That compelling public interest means that this isn't, I think the mitigation is a consideration, but I think that generally the understanding of compelling public interest is a standard that isn't satisfied by pointing to the mitigation. But
I hear you.
I think it's a problem. I think it's an issue that we keep coming back to.
Yep. So I absolutely hear you, Maureen. I think that our current precedent, though, is for work like this, whether we explicitly are discussing a waiver or not. And in the past, I think we may have not been as rigorous about that as we are being right now. We have taken this type of mitigation to
support a decision to
support Part D. And I agree with you. I think that just what our current precedent has been, though, is that this type of thing with sufficient mitigation had been sufficient in the past. And so it puts us in a tough,
Yep.
We're being more rigorous now, which I'm not against by any means. It's just, we are going to be kind of changing what our precedent has been. And I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I just want to, and please feel free to disagree with me if you think that we haven't been doing this precedent in the past.
Yeah, but the text says what the text says.
Yeah.
But I think so this is a requirement by the town of Topsfield. This is above and beyond what the state Wetlands Protection Act requires. But the way our regulations are written, it requires that we have a finding that it's either a taking it's an unconstitutional taking, or there is a compelling public interest. And I find that to be a problem. But I
don't disagree with you either, Maureen, but I guess my point would be that I guess maybe I'm more easily compelled. But I also don't think that I don't see a path, and I think that people are trying to find a way to satisfy them with our current rules, and I'm willing to use my discretion. But again, it takes four votes to grant a waiver, so
Yeah, I mean, I think for this one, understanding that, we are in the process of potentially revising some of these to take the stance of what the commission in my time on the commission has been, would be that this type of work is something that we would have granted a waiver for. It may not have been as rigorous in the past, and I appreciate the rigor that we are analyzing these with now. I just, right now, while we're still in the process of revising these, to stand on precedent versus to change things for potentially a few months and then update our regulations. I think for this period of time to continue to stand on our existing precedent does make some sense, but that's just my opinion. So.
Yep. So I'm willing to vote to allow this, but I still have concerns about kind of the stringency of the requirement that there be compelling public interest. And
I agree.
My recommendation is that we amend our regulations to give more discretion to the commission to grant these kind of waivers for the Topsfield specific restrictions.
I agree.
Jack, do you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. I do think our precedent has been that if we think it's an overall positive impact on the resource areas, due to the mitigation, that it's in our interest to allow the project.
Right.
And
so applying
I think
that standard,
the regs could be written better to clarify that that's our intent, or that's been the commission's intent.
And that does seem redundant though with the mitigation part, and I'll give you that, Maureen, right? Like, because what if you're saying
sub A is mitigation, sub B is compelling public interest. It's double dipping. But I agree, that kind of our application of judgment to the standard in the past has permitted this kind of work under waiver. And I think we should do that here as well.
Okay. Millie, any thoughts on your part as a new person coming into this?
Yeah, I mean, as a relative newcomer, I think that looking to precedent is probably a wise thing to do, especially understanding that we are re-looking at these. And I do think that the point of the commission is to sort of get an overall net positive, right? So I think if we agree that the mitigation plan is an overall net positive for the resource area, then the intent is there, but I totally understand sort of being respectful of the specificity of the verbiage is important. So
Mhm.
I appreciate all the conversation so far.
Okay. Do we,
We're ready
and
to vote.
I'll look to Jackie and Roy, do we need two separate motions, one for the waiver and then the main motion of approval? Or is that all wrapped up in the main motion?
I think you could make a motion that includes both if you'd like to. Or separately,
Okay.
either way.
Maybe just for clarity right now, I'll request a motion granting the waiver as requested.
Did we open it to public comment?
We did before we closed the hearing,
Okay.
yes.
I second the
So-
Do we need to understand what we're waiving in the motion, or is it just?
So we would be approving the waiver as requested would be my understanding.
Love it.
We're waiving the regulation commitment that no activity take place in the setback area without a waiver from the commission. So we're waiving the restriction in sub 2 regarding no work in the setback area.
That
Does that
sounds
make
funny in
sense?
my head that we're waiving the waiver to.
No, we're waiving the restriction on
Yeah. Okay.
no work in the setback area.
All right. I will make a motion to approve the waiver as written to waive the requirement that there is no work in the setback area under our waiver provision for 29 Raleigh Bridge Road, map 55, lot 8.
Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, and how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Calla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay, thank you. And now I'm looking for the main motion approving the work.
And I will suggest a motion to issue an order of conditions for DP 307-0875 at 29 Raleigh Bridge Road, map 55, lot 8 under the Act and bylaw with standard special conditions, including the requirement for 2-year monitoring reports on the mitigation planning areas by a qualified professional and installation of conservation markers at locations to be determined by the conservation agent, and the finding that only the flags A9 through A13 are confirmed by this order of conditions.
I second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Calla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay. Thank you for staying with us while we had our discussion of the waiver stuff, and we're looking forward to seeing how the project turns out.
Thank you. Hope everyone has a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
You too. Okay, moving on to our next hearing. This is NOI 307-0878 for 2 Proctor Drive, map 51, lot 14, Aaliyah and Williams and Sparages LLC to install in-ground swimming pool and patio, gazebo, and regrade lawn. I will read the notice that went out. A public hearing will be held by remote participation through video and/or audio conference Wednesday, August 12, 2026 at 7 p.m. or time case is reached to consider the notice of intent for installation of in-ground swimming pool, patio, gazebo, and lawn grading and buffer zone bordering vegetated wetland at 2 Proctor Drive, map 51, lot 14. Applicant Aaliyah. This is in accordance with the requirements of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw, Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed on the meeting agenda, posted with the town clerk a minimum of 40 hours prior to the meeting date, or contact conservation at topsfield-ma.gov. Signed, Susan Winslow. And Jackie, I will ask if the abutter receipts were received.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the applicant that would like to go over the project?
Yep. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Justine Fox. I'm with Williams and Sparages here on behalf of the applicant and homeowner who is also with us tonight. Let me share my screen. I'll bring up the plan.
Okay.
All right. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, great. So like Andrew mentioned, we're proposing an in-ground pool, patio, and gazebo in the backyard of this property. It's totaling 2,056 square feet of permanent alteration within the buffer zone, as well as some non-permanent grading. The darker blue line that you see here is the edge of the bordering vegetated wetlands, which does go through lawn that has been existing, to my knowledge, since the property was constructed. And the lighter blue line here is the 100-foot buffer zone associated with the edge of the bordering vegetated wetlands. The red line is our proposed erosion controls in the form of mulch stock that stem from the road and the construction access point and wrap around the limit of work for the pool. We've also included a dewatering detail that is on the side here as well, just in case groundwater is encountered during excavation for the pool. It can settle there and enter the groundwater before making its way down gradient towards wetland resource areas. We propose the construction access closer to the wetlands just because the other access option would be right over the existing leach field. So we thought it'd be more appropriate to go on the other side of the house and not have heavy equipment going over the leach field. We are proposing a 1,500 square foot mitigation area to help protect the interests of healthy wetland resource areas to the general public. We're proposing a native seed mix in this area. This area is currently lawn. I forgot to mention that. And we are also proposing 6 dogwood shrubs and 6 northern arrowwood shrubs in this area. Jackie, Andrew, and myself met on site last week to discuss the project area, and the chair did mention he would like to see closer to a 1-to-1 mitigation ratio for this work. I did speak with the property owner about this, and he had some concerns about losing even more of his existing lawn. So I'd like to bring that into discussion tonight with the rest of the commission and the property owner here. We did discuss some other options, perhaps invasive species removal in the area directly behind where we've proposed the mitigation area. There's some pretty mature bittersweet vines that are affecting the trees back there, as well as adjacent to the wetland up here, there's some bittersweet that's really starting to take hold. And he was open to treating that and doing invasive species management on top of this mitigation area if it would help him keep some of his existing lawn. Yeah, happy to discuss further. I think that about sums everything up. Happy to take any questions. Yeah, let me know if I can share anything else. I'll stop sharing for now.
Sure. Before we discuss the mitigation area, just conservation posts around that mitigation area, was that discussed with the homeowner at all?
It was, yeah, and he's open to doing that as well.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
I think I'd like to see those. Jackie and I visited the site, so I'll obviously let Jackie give her opinions as well. The area that the swimming pool is going to go into is existing lawn with some non-permanent structures on it right now. I don't necessarily see a problem with that structure going on there. But yeah, I'll let Jackie give her opinions on it as well.
Yeah, I think I'll share my photos from the site visit. And I'll also note that we had a similar waiver request on this one, because it is work in buffer zone with mitigation. So here's the area where you can see in the back where the mitigation area would be proposed. The wetland boundary goes along the blue stakes. I think this stake was something else. But the stakes with the blue tape or the wetland line. This is looking back toward the house from way back in the backyard. near the mitigation area. And this is where the pool is proposed, in front of the house or behind the house. That was from further away, walking towards the mitigation area. This is the side view, where the pool would be sort of in the middle. And then this is just looking back into the woods where we did notice it looked like some yard waste might have been placed there. And we made a comment that we shouldn't be having yard waste placed within 30 feet of the wetland. And I'm sure that would be a condition if we issue an order of conditions on this going forward. This was the application, which I can show you the waiver request. So you can see there was a description of how it would meet the 4 waiver criteria. There were no feasible area outside the buffer zone. Mitigation was proposed with plantings, which includes shrubs and seed mix. And then C was not applicable, and D was designed to ensure that the public interests associated with healthy local wetland ecosystems continue to be protected.
Yeah, I did forget to mention the stone infiltration trench that goes around the pool. That was intended to mitigate any stormwater runoff or pool backsplash from reaching the wetlands as well.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll open up to the commission's discussion. I think probably the biggest thing to discuss is the mitigation versus alteration square footage. I mean, I think my preference is 1-to-1. I mean, invasive species management maybe can play a part in that, whether that's going to account for an additional 500 square feet of permanent alteration. You know, I think that we need to discuss that. One option, and this is just, I'm putting it out for discussion, would be Jackie showed with the yard waste that had been put. If that yard waste was removed and the area reseeded, that potentially could count towards it, versus just kind of stopping putting yard waste there, actually like improving that area with specific plantings. That could be an option. I'm just putting it out there to discussion. But yeah, happy to hear the rest of the commission's opinions.
Yeah, I don't think we'd always like to see 1-for-1. What's the delta? Is it 500 feet?
Roughly.
Square feet?
And I know you said the homeowner was on, so if they'd like to introduce themselves and add anything to discussion, they're welcome to.
Everyone, Dennis Alia here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, my screen seems a bit dark. I don't know if it's the lighting in my room or what. Well, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can fix it.
Yeah, take your time.
A little better?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
All right. Well, nice meeting you all. I don't have an issue clearing up that area in the corner and using some native seeds and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's in line with what we discussed too, just trying not to lose any more of your lawn.
Right. And the point that I made to Justine essentially was the pool and the patio will take up a good part of my usable yard. Now, if we increase the size of that mitigation area, essentially I won't have a lot of usable yard left. And I would like to let my kids run in the backyard and maybe put a trampoline back there as well at some point. So increasing the size of the mitigation area will really leave me with almost no usable yard space, which is why I'd rather prefer those other measures as opposed to increasing the size of the mitigation area.
I think in the past, and Andrew, you can correct me, but if we go down the road of invasives, right, it would help us if we knew how much over 1-for-1 you were going, right? We've seen proposals with invasive removals that exceed the 1-to-1 ratio to compensate for not having the mitigation.
Yeah, that rings a bell, that because there's no additional plantings going in. I mean, it will restore to, wetland area with the invasives management, and I'm fine counting some of that towards this. We don't know this right now. I mean, the bittersweet, like we don't have a number on the square footage of that exactly, and it's hard to calculate that necessarily anyway. So yeah, it's tough to get that to line up with our kind of 1-to-1 usual standard here.
Some of the bittersweet I observed was definitely just upland of the area with the leaves. So just focusing on that area, I think we could definitely get the extra square footage and some invasive management with a seed mix and leaf removal.
Okay. I mean, personally, I understand, wanting to have lawn available. I understand. I mean, but we are removing areas that water can infiltrate, even though it's lawn, it's still helping feed the underground water systems. And the infiltration trench is going to do hopefully a great job of getting that water underground, but we are still disturbing it. I'm thinking that there's a happy medium here of the mitigation that's currently proposed, as well as the invasives management, and maybe some of that leaf removal that's deeper into the wetlands, and then reseeding those areas as well. I don't know the square footage of that, and this is just my opinion. Obviously have to have the rest of the commission understand and be on board with that. But I think that there's a world in which that could work from my perspective. But I'll look to Jackie and the rest of the commission on their opinions on that. And if it makes any sense, Jackie, could you pull that photo of the anything with, you might have seen the invasives or past the stone wall, just to give it. I mean, I was there on site, so I know.
Yeah, let me see if I have. I have the photo showing the tree, which I don't know if there's something, maybe vines on the tree, but I don't know if that's bittersweet. It doesn't look like it to me.
Yeah, I think that was Virginia creeper. There's some small bittersweet kind of in the green
in the
ground covered. But...
Yeah, maybe over here, over there.
But yeah, hard to calculate square footage, like Andrew said.
Yeah, I think for invasives management alone, I think in the past we required more than 1-to-1 for just invasive management. But maybe some combination of a little, I think I'd like to see a little bit more mitigation area at least, and then maybe some combination of other things to add to it. But it's up to the commission.
Yeah, if I may just share my screen again real quick. I brought it up on Mass Mapper aerial imagery. So that square right there where the tree is on the eastern side of the property, right now just averaging is 660 square feet, which I think was about where the leaves were. So
okay.
Just, we can definitely get that 500 square feet in that area. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's definitely possible. The issue right now is that we don't have a plan right now for that in front of us. And so, what would our path forward would be to approve it with conditioning all these things, which might be a path forward. I'll look to Jackie and the rest of the commission, whether that's something they'd be amenable to. I mean, in my ideal world, this would happen and then maybe an expansion of the restoration area, but I understand that that's, not really what the applicant would like to do. So I think I've given my opinion on this, so I'd like to definitely let the rest of the commission give their opinions.
I think I largely agree with you, Andrew. I think it could be conditioned, but I'd like to see some sort of math that says what we're getting and how we make it equivalent.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Something that's closer to 1-to-1 or more explicit about the invasive removal and sort of how that all adds up.
Right. Particularly if we're saying compelling public interest is directly associated with mitigation and improving the conservation area. If we're doing that calculus, a private pool, isn't compelling public interest. So the mitigation piece really needs to weigh heavily, and I think we need to see that on a drawing.
And I think I can certainly do that. And Maureen, just to go back to your point about public interest, I totally understand the way you're reading that regulation. One argument, if I may be that putting up an addition like the previous application, or maybe adding a pool with a patio and a gazebo really increases the value of that property. And a higher property value leads to potentially higher, the homeowner paying higher taxes to the town. And I would argue that it's in the public interest for people to pay higher taxes, which can then be utilized for the town and for services in the town. So that's one potential argument.
I appreciate your creativity, but I think it's not public interest, it's compelling public interest. So
higher taxes certainly can be very compelling.
Yep. I think as the phrase has generally been used in this kind of a context, it has to do more with public safety or building a public utility in a place that otherwise, that's the only available place. But, as we discussed and you heard earlier, this commission has considered as contributing to the compelling public interest, the mitigation, and improving the resource area in a way that more than compensates for the land that's being removed from the resource area as a permeable surface. So at least a 1-to-1, I think, would be needed in order to grant the waiver. Anybody else?
No, I agree with that. I think it's hard for us to say that we are achieving that if the initial proposal isn't even 1-to-1.
Justine, where do we stand in terms of that ratio for now? I know what is the proposed project with a pool and patio and gazebo?
Yes, so we're at 2,056 square feet for the pool, patio, and gazebo, and then 1,500 square feet for the mitigation area. So
we need 556 feet to satisfy the commission's requirements. I would like, if possible, to see if we can agree to add that square footage today. Ideally, I have talked to a contractor who potentially could start working in October. If we stretch this on to the next hearing in September, I'm afraid that we're not going to be able to meet that deadline. So if the commission requires the additional 556 feet, I'd like to see if we can reach an agreement tonight to add that additional square footage, whether it's increasing the size of the mitigation area or doing some other preventative measures, or maybe a combination of both. I'm willing to do that if that would facilitate the commission's decision tonight.
Yeah, is it possible we could condition like that square footage, 556 square feet, as agreed upon by the agent, like post approval or something like that? Yes.
I think I'll look to Jackie on whether that we have
Yeah.
any precedent of doing something similar to that.
We have previously had orders of conditions that require that I approve a planting plan prior to starting work, or even that the commission approves it prior to starting work. But I mean, it's not the ideal scenario, because then if we never get the plan, then we have an issue. But I think like, just like we have other requirements prior to starting work, that we do a pre-activity meeting, et cetera, we could have it as one of those requirements that I agree to a mitigation plan that includes an additional 500 square feet or whatever it may be of mitigation planting area. I think any requirements that the commission would have that we can agree on tonight would be helpful. Yeah, I think the easiest thing would it be if we can just do planting area in the strip of wetland is currently lawn. I think that would be the most beneficial to the wetland resource area.
Yeah. So it sounds like right now, probably the most straightforward path forward. I mean, we can condition that before work starts, that a plan that includes this additional 500 square feet would need to be approved by the conservation agent. And this would be done before work begins, with a preference for it being in the wetland area that's currently lawn. And I guess, you know, if another avenue, including invasive species management, wants to be included with that, I think that has to be a compelling enough argument that Jackie would be able to approve that, because I don't want to put her in a position in which she's having to approve something that is, you know, really something that needs to be discussed in front of the commission. I mean, I'm happy to give Jackie the ability to approve that. I trust her. I just don't want her to have to, you know, make hairline judgments on whether or not this is sufficiently matching it. So I think that if it's not an additional 500 square feet of genuine restoration area, it should be well above 500 square feet, as to make it very obvious that this is sufficient. And again, my opinion, happy to hear the rest of the commission.
And there are other alternatives are to modify the plans, you know, remove the gazebo, smaller pool, maybe not a patio. You know, there's a lot going on here that's like squarely within the 100-foot boundary. I think we need a plan. I think that conditioning it does put a burden on Jackie.
I agree.
To make judgment calls that are really the purview of the committee.
Yeah, I think really the only way that we would condition it is if the plan had an additional 500 square feet of the same type of restoration area in what is currently lawn. Other than that, it would require a plan coming in front of us.
And I'm fine doing that, adding those 500 additional feet. Again, if it would help the commission make their decision at this meeting and condition it, obviously, upon those 500 additional feet. I'm not entirely sure how the process works, if you need to see a revised notice of intent or some other type of application. Again, if that's the only way that we can move forward, I understand the point. And I would like to move forward by agreeing to adding those 500 additional square feet of the mitigation area.
Okay.
And
I don't
know
think
if
I would have
this-
had a problem with this plan if it had one-to-one mitigation from the start.
Agreed.
So if there's a clean way to condition that, I'm fine with that tonight.
Yep.
And Andrew, I know you mentioned specifically in the lawn, you'd like to see, I don't know if it makes a difference in the commission's opinion, that part of that leaf pile is within a wetland. If we were to take that leaf litter out and restore that part of the wetland, I don't know if that makes a difference also.
I think personally that would work for me. I think just having the figuring out the square footage is potentially slightly more complicated in there. But if it can be made obvious to, because again, this would be us granting Jackie the ability to approve it without directly coming in front of us. I think as long as it's very obvious, then I would potentially be okay with that. But I mean, to Maureen's point, I think having a plan is the ideal, and the simplest way would be adjusting just that current triangle. But I'm
Can I
not.
share an idea?
Sure.
Just an idea, but I think if this is a like strip that's in between the tree line, but still in the wetland, and I feel like that would probably be around 500 square feet, if not more, if this could be added with some plants in it. But I mean, that's just an idea.
Would that satisfy the commission's purpose tonight, if that's what we agree on? Again, I don't know what that adds up to. Assuming it adds up to about 500 square feet, would that be something that the commission would be okay with and ultimately approve?
Yeah, I think we would still need to request a formal plan and with plantings. But I think if that's the general idea that we can agree on, but pending my approval of a formal plan with plantings, maybe.
Okay. I'm going to just take this moment to open up for public comment, as this is a hearing. So if there's anyone from the public that would like to give any comments or ask any questions, now is the time. Okay, hearing none.
Close the hearing.
So assuming that we're comfortable with what we want to move forward with, yes, I'll ask that someone make a motion to close the hearing. Okay.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing then.
I'll second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Calla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Thank you. So now I think similar to the way that we did it last time, the next motion will be to grant the waiver.
And we would condition the order of conditions.
I think that the condition for the additional mitigation would come under the final main motion for the work itself.
Just
That's my understanding. Please, Maureen and Jackie, jump in if you think that that's. I personally think having the multiple motions is a clean way to do it, but if there's a procedural thing that makes more sense on your part, Jackie, please let me know.
I think it's a good idea to separate the waiver just because we have a different amount of people required to approve the waiver. So then it makes it less complicated if we have someone who votes against the motion.
Sure.
As long as the waiver is pending, like dependent on the additional conditions, correct? Like,
well, I think the order of conditions would be pending the additional mitigation.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the waiver.
We are no matter what, we're waiving. Well, I guess, but we're only waiving it.
You could mention it in both motions. You could mention the caveat in both motions, or the condition, if that's easier.
All right. I'll suggest a motion to grant a waiver for work within the buffer zone at 2 Proctor Drive, map 51, lot 14, with the conditions that there are an additional 500 square feet of mitigation above what is proposed.
I'll just, before we do that, I'll ask that you amend that to include, I think you said the address, but that it would be under the Conservation Administrator's approval.
I'll amend that to say that the plan with the additional 500 square feet of mitigation will require the approval of the conservation officer.
So and it was approximately 500. So it's, to bring it to a 1-to-1 ratio is what we want. 500 was kind of a thumbnail.
Okay, I think it was, yeah,
value.
at least 556, maybe.
Something, yeah.
Do you want me to amend it to just say 1-to-1 ratio?
Yes, please.
I-
So done. I second the amended motion.
Okay, and how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnian, aye.
Ben Kyle, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay. And now the main motion for the order of conditions, please.
All right, I will suggest a motion to issue an order of conditions for 2 Proctor Drive, map 51, lot 14, under the Act and bylaw, approving only flags A5 through 8, with standard and special conditions, including the requirement for 2 years of monitoring reports for planting areas with 80% survival of plantings required after the 2 years, and conservation markers to be installed at the limit of the lawn and of restoration area, with locations subject to be approval by the conservation agent. Additionally, that plans illustrating a 1-for-1 mitigation are approved by the conservation agent as well.
I second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnian, aye.
Ben Kyle, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
All right. We appreciate you working with us, and we look forward to seeing how the project turns out.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
working
it.
with me. Yep.
Have a good night.
I'll be in touch soon. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Alrighty. We have another NOI up next, NOI 307-0877 for 476 through 478 and 482 Boston Street, map 7, lot 4 and lot 5. Our Savior Lutheran Church Incorporated and the Moore and Cameron Group Incorporated to repave driveway, parking lot, and walkways, reconstruction of curbs, regrading of lawn, and installation of a pervious paver walkway. I'm going to read the legal notice for this hearing. A public hearing will be held via remote participation through video and/or audio conference Wednesday, August 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m., where time case is reached to consider the notice of intent for repaving driveway for parking areas, reconstruction of walkways and curbs, regrading lawn, installation of pervious paver walkway in 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland at 476 through 478 and 482 Boston Street, map 7, lot 4 and 5. Applicant, Our Savior Lutheran Church Incorporated. This is in accordance with the requirements of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and Topsfield General Wetlands Bylaw Chapter 62. Meeting participation instructions will be listed on the meeting agenda, posted with the town clerk a minimum of 40 hours prior to the meeting date, or contact conservation at topsfield-ma.gov, signed Susan Winslow. And Jackie, I will ask if the abutter receipts were received.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone on the call that's able to represent the applicant?
Yes, good evening. For the record, John Moran from the Moore and Cameron Group. We're here tonight representing Our Savior Lutheran Church for a notice of intent application filed for the property located at 476, 478, and 482 Boston Street. May I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Yep.
I think you should all be able to see the plan.
Yep. It's a little bit, you might need to zoom in on the different.
Oh yeah, I'll
areas.
zoom in as I start my presentation, but for now I'll just leave it as the overall property. So Route 1's on the right-hand side of the page with a easterly side. Driveway comes in, the existing church is here, parsonage house in the back, driveway, parking lots all through here. What you see in green is the wetland resource areas that were delineated by DeRosa Environmental. The 100-foot buffer zone associated with that wetland is this green dashed line. So obviously you can see the majority of the properties within the commission's jurisdiction. As stated, the proposed work is the repaving of the existing parking lot, driveways, reconstruction of all the existing walkways, regrading of an existing grass area that is settled, and the construction of a pervious paver walkway to an existing door, and the reconstruction of an existing walkway. And I'll go over these in a little more detail. So when we looked at this originally, we looked at the majority of the project, as you heard, is maintenance. It's the repaving of the existing parking lot, driveways, and the reconstruction of the existing walkways. So the existing walkways that are being reconstructed, you can see here, kind of shaded in red. What's happening is they're lifting, they're settling. The curbing is lifting and settling along here, and that's resulting in tripping hazards. So, they now have the funds to finally reconstruct all these existing walkways, and the pavement needs to be repaved, as pavement does. I mean, we all know that pavement doesn't last forever. So the proposal is to repave all the existing parking areas and driveways, which includes areas that are within the commission's jurisdiction, areas that are outside the commission's jurisdiction. That lawn area that I was talking about is located right here. There's an existing catch basin in that location, and what has happened over time, the lawn has settled and water is just ponding in locations and not finding its way either to the catch basin or out to the pavement. The way it was originally graded, there was a small high point, and we're just proposing to regrade this. There'll be a high point right here directing runoff back to the catch basin, and then a small portion of runoff from the lawn area back out into the pavement where it used to go. The walkways that I was talking about, right in this location is an existing walkway out to the driveway. It's pretty steep. And what the church asked is, was there any way to reconfigure that walkway to make it more passable for disabled and their elderly people that attend the church? And what we're able to do is we can actually extend that existing walkway based on the existing grades, and we can reduce the slope of that walkway to 4.8%, which is actually below ADA requirement, which makes a nice traveled walkway up to this existing door. The only other proposed new work is there's an existing door located on the building that, unbeknownst to us and not known why, but they never built a walkway over to this door. So what they would like to do is, they've been living with it. In the winter, they have to shovel the grass. And when it's a lot of rain, you've got extremely wet, muddy conditions. They'd actually like to build a walkway from the existing walkway over to that door. And what we're proposing is a pervious paver walkway, so you literally end up with little impact. This pervious paver walkway is about 110 square feet. The extension of this walkway, again, this walkway is going to be removed. The extension of this walkway results in approximately 42 additional square feet. So really, when you look at this project, the new work is approximately 152 square feet within the buffer zone. So one of the things we looked at, as you were aware, in your regulations, any new dwelling or any wetland greater than 100 linear feet in length requires the filing of an ANRAD. Well, we looked at this, and again, the majority of all the work is associated with maintenance. And I spoke to Jackie. We looked at, really the only new work that needs a wetland review, because the wetlands all around the property, whether the proposed pavement is 80 feet from the wetland or 70 feet or 95 feet, it's somewhat irrelevant since it's maintenance. It's just maintenance of existing pavement. Again, we're not proposing any additional paved surface. So what we looked at was the wetlands that really need to be reviewed for the filing is really just these 3 wetland flags, which is less than 100 square feet, which is why we did not file an ANRAD application for the wetland review. With regards to waiver requests, so I know there's been a lot of talk tonight about your section in your bylaw, section 10, R10-4E2, which talks about no work shall occur in the setback areas. In this case, it's the 100-foot buffer zone, except as provided pursuant to paragraph G maintenance or waiver provisions of this section. As I had mentioned, the majority of this work is maintenance, paving of existing paved driveways and walkways with no increase in impervious surface, and the reconstruction of existing walkways with no increase in square footage. So the new work would be, again, this little walkway right here, and the reconfiguration of this existing walkway here, which results in the alteration of approximately 152 square feet. So under your section 10.4E2, the commission may allow the alteration of up to an additional 5% or 400 square feet of the buffer zone, whichever is less. In our case, the 400 square feet is less. And as I pointed out, we're proposing the alteration of 152 square feet. So I believe the commission can approve the project as proposed. When we were looking at the fees for this property, as you are aware, alteration or the fees under your local bylaw, we did file the fees under the state, which would be required for a project of this type. But the fees under your local bylaw, alteration in the buffer zone is based on square footage. So if you technically looked at repaving as an alteration, and the reconstruction of the existing walkways technically is an alteration, which under your bylaw, I believe they would fall as an alteration. We're altering approximately 23,370 square feet because we're repaving this whole parking lot. That equates to a fee of approximately $6,000. So in our request for the waiver for the alteration in the buffer zone, we're also requesting to waive the fee for the maintenance work. And we did submit a fee for the additional work, which again was this paver walkway and the increase, the minimal increase in the walkway over here when we relocated the existing walkway and stretched it out to the existing parking lot. So I'll go through the waiver provision. I know you've talked about it a lot. That was submitted with our narrative, and I'll just kind of run through it. So again, the commission may allow the alteration of up to 400 square feet, and we're proposing new alteration of 152 square feet, so we'll meet that section. Part A is there's no alternatives that would comply to the regulations. And as I had pointed out, this existing door is here. It's in the buffer zone, so there's no way to provide a walkway to it without being in the buffer zone. And the quickest walkway is from the existing entrance over to this location. So we created the shortest walkway with the narrowest walkway we could provide. The other location, the whole point of this is to provide a walkway that's less steep than what it currently is. So that's driven by topography. The only way to get a shallower walkway slope is to increase the length while you're proceeding to an area that's slightly higher in elevation. So we're able to create a much shallower walkway. And again, it's in an area that's all existing lawn. This is in an area that's all existing lawn. So I believe we meet the criteria that there's no alternative that's further outside the buffer zone for these two proposed alterations. With regards to mitigation, again, we're proposing a pervious walkway, which should result in very little increase in runoff, pretty much negligible. And then we've got an increase of about 42 square feet on a paved walkway, which again, when you look at the size of this watershed contributing to this wetland, and you add in 142 square feet of pervious paver walkway and a portion of an extension of a paved walkway, the runoff curve number for the subcatchment isn't going to change. Therefore, the runoff isn't going to change. So we view it that these minor proposals aren't going to have any impact on the buffer zone or the resource area. Therefore, we did not propose any mitigation because, again, the way the regulation is written is the mitigation is proposed to mitigate any impact the proposed activities will have on the buffer. And we feel that the proposed activities will not have any impact on the buffer, and we'd be happy to further discuss that with the commission. If the commission does want mitigation, again, we're altering approximately 152 square feet. The existing lawn over here is right in this location. I mean, we could restore back 152 square feet right along the edge of this lawn. Again, we didn't feel the need to actually do that. You know, we are not altering any wetland or bank or anything like that. So that section C, is not applicable. In section D, you know, the overriding public interest, unlike the other projects, I believe this project does have an actual overriding public interest because the patrons to the church will now have access to a door without having to walk across either lawn or snow or ice, and will be increasing the passability of an existing walkway, making it easier for the public to use. So I believe that the project as proposed, the two limited new work, again, 152 square feet, does actually provide a public interest, which is the people coming to the church. With regards to DEP, we did get a DEP file number. DEP did have one comment. In our application, we submitted that the project does not have to comply to the stormwater standards because, again, it's maintenance of existing paved surfaces. And the two areas that the proposed work, 142 or 152 square feet, does not impact the buffer zone, and under the stormwater standards does not require any mitigation. However, the DEP said they believe that the project is not exempt from provisions of the stormwater standards, and they want us to explain why and how we comply. So again, under the Mass Stormwater Standards, the big issue is increase in rate of runoff and treatment of runoff. That's pretty much the intent of the standard. Again, we're not proposing any changes to the existing pavement. Therefore, there are no requirements for any additional treatment for that runoff. You know, they mentioned an O&M plan as well. And again, we're not proposing any increase in pavement, so there's no need for an O&M plan because we're not changing anything. And as I stated in our narrative, the actual new work, which is this pervious paver walkway and the extension of an existing walkway, only result in an alteration of 152 square feet. And when you look at that 152 square feet over the size of the watershed that flows into this wetland, that will not change the runoff curve number associated with the runoffs of catchment heading into that wetland. Therefore, that's not going to increase any rate of runoff. So that'll have no impact to the resource area or butters. And these type of uses don't require any treatment of the runoff. So again, we feel that the stormwater standards do not apply and are not required. I know I gave you a lot of information, so to recap, we're asking for a waiver to allow for the 152 square feet of alteration in the buffer zone. And we're asking for a waiver to allow for the reduction in the proposed local bylaw fee for alteration in the buffer zone to only be required for the new work in the buffer zone and not the maintenance. At this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do they need a waiver because they're under the 400 square feet?
Based on our review, my review of that section, as
it's a consideration. It's not, so there's a threshold.
There's always a waiver. Like to do any work in the buffer zone, you need a waiver.
You need a waiver.
The
Unless
400
it's
square
maintenance.
feet, what that section does is it technically, and I'm glad to hear that you're thinking of rewriting the section, because if you actually read the section based on its face, it says the commission can only allow the alteration of up to 5,000 square feet or 400 square feet, whichever is less. So,
Right. So that's section 2 sub A. And
Yep.
this is the threshold. So, right. For lots developed
yep, prior to,
as of May 2024, the proposed
Yep.
activities cannot exceed a total of 5% or 400 square feet. May be considered only if the proposed activities are located outside the buffer zone as much as possible. Activities are limited to already disturbed areas, and mitigation is offered to compensate for any impacts. That's like kind of a threshold whether you can move to the commission considering the activities, and then you go from 2 sub A down to the waiver provision in 2 sub I, right?
Yeah, and section 2A
I.
is including but not limited to. So I think that part is more open-ended than the sub I, which is just the for and
right
provisions.
And John, kind of you spoke to 2 sub I, sub 1, sub B, which is mitigation measures. And the actual language reads, mitigating measures are proposed that will allow the project to be conditioned so as to contribute to the interests identified by the bylaw. So the mitigating measures really is contributing to the interest values, not necessarily offsetting, negative impacts.
And that's fine. We have no problem providing a planting area for 152 square feet if the commission does feel that they can approve this project. So again, one of the other sections in the bylaw does talk about mitigation required, to mitigate for impacts. But I agree with you, you're 100% correct. The way that section is written is it does specifically state, allow the project to be conditioned so as to contribute to the interests identified in the bylaw. So we wouldn't have a problem, again, producing a restoration area. And again, it would be right along the edge of lawn out, and we'd remove a portion of the lawn for a planting area. We'd have DeRosa Environmental create the plan.
Okay. We really are trying to make sure that we're applying our bylaw and regulations according to what it says.
Yep.
And making sure that we as commissioners understand kind of what the rules and regulations we must abide by. So thank you for kind of taking time to walk through all that.
Yeah, so a lot of different moving parts on this. I think for our discussion, just kind of taking it piece by piece, we could treat the upper maintenance area as one piece. Personally, I think that obviously the maintenance makes sense. The fee waiving of that, I'm amenable to. I think for the fact that it is maintenance and not requiring the redelineation of it, nothing's changing in the footprint, so it wouldn't really matter if it got redelineated. And the fee waiving, given that it's maintenance, is I think okay with me. Ben, you look like you have
No, sorry.
thought there.
I'm fine with partial waiving of the fee as well.
Okay. Any other discussion of the maintenance area? Okay. To the left, the extension / reconfiguration of the pave or the walkway. I mean, I was there. The area slopes up towards the wetland anyway, and so the runoff would be headed towards the building in this catch basin. So I think that's of fairly negligible impact, that extension, and I think making that ADA compliant and more accessible makes sense to me.
Yep, there's a safety public interest there, clearly.
Yep.
Totally agree.
And then on the right side is the new impervious paver area. I mean, Jackie and Millie and I saw it. It's basically compacted dirt that people shovel and, you know, rip up all the time. So, you know, it's a pretty degraded area. I think it would probably be of some interest to make it something that people can walk on, both from a safety perspective, and probably that area around it would be able to regrass and become vegetated again anyway. It's fairly shaded, so it might be moss that grows in, but I think it'll be better than what's there right now. The three flags that need to get delineated, I think that makes sense because, you know, that's the area that I mean, pretty much wherever they end up, it's going to be in wetlands, but because that's the only new work, I think that makes sense to have those delineated. I mean, it's behind a fence as well. And then, yeah, given our reading of the waiver provisions, I do think to adhere to it strictly, I think 150 square feet of some form of restoration makes sense. You know, when I visited the site, there's a tremendous amount of bittersweet and other invasives in this back area. So, you know, I'm guessing that we want to get this approved tonight. So the cleanest way forward, like the other, is just 150 square feet of conversion. But I think that there could be a world in which some sort of invasives plan does make sense as mitigation in this case, because it's a fairly small area that's getting changed, and potentially a couple hundred square feet of invasives management, in my mind, would, you know, accommodate that. But yeah, anyway, I've said enough. Millie also is on site, so please offer any thoughts there as well.
So Andrew, to be clear, are you saying that as an alternative to a planting, that an invasive plant treatment plan would promote the interest of our bylaws?
I do.
So as an alternative, I just want to make sure I understood what you're saying.
Yes.
I do think
Offer your
though,
comments as well, Jack. Oh,
I
yeah.
do think the area with invasives, there are quite a lot, and we may want to require plantings there.
Okay.
Just after the invasives are removed, otherwise they might just easily come back.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Or at least a seed mix might be easier.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. I'm just saying if they didn't want to give up lawn, basically, I think that it would be of interest to the wetlands and our intents that if they did invasives plan and replanting in currently vegetated areas, that the invasives plan would or could be
satisfy
sufficient.
2 sub L sub 2 sub B.
You took it right out of my mouth. But yeah, no, I mean, Millie and Jackie were on site, so please, if you know, I've been doing a lot of talking.
No, I mean, I agree that back area was pretty rife with invasives, but that always also makes me nervous about removal and then the success rate of that actually happening. So I mean, maybe it's a preference question for the church themselves of they'd like to embark on that versus expanding 150 feet of planting.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll mention that we did notice the conservation markers were some falling down, so those will need to be repaired as a condition. And then as for the stormwater narrative, I think the reason DEP commented that is that basically everything that doesn't meet very specific category criteria requires a stormwater report or narrative of some kind for a notice of intent, and the criteria are very specific, like residential single family home is one of them. And this project did not fall under any of those, but it only needs to meet the stormwater standards to the maximum extent practicable, which is what DEP commented. And I think for something this simple, just the narrative that explains how it meets that could be considered as the stormwater report.
Okay. Any other discussion within the commission? All right, I will open this up to public comment. So if there are any members of the public that would like to add comments or ask me questions, now is the time. Hearing none, and assuming that there's no further discussion, I'll ask for a motion to close the hearing.
I suggest a motion to close the hearing.
And do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, we'll move on to the motion for a waiver. And I think in a similar, because we're going to be conditioning the additional 150 square feet of restoration. Does that make sense? So I think in a similar way, that needs to be conditioned both for the waiver and for the main motion.
So a plan would need to be submitted to me prior to starting work and approved by me.
Yep.
Right, exactly. Okay.
We're talking about the fee first, right?
Oh, we need to waive the fee. Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Before you
okay.
get to that, if I could just interject, Jackie, that plan for the restoration area, we will also show on that plan the proposed location for the new markers.
Okay.
So that we can kind of kill two birds with one stone.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Ben, for remembering the fees. Yeah, then at this point, I'll take a motion to for fee waiving of the maintenance areas.
I'll suggest a motion to grant a partial fee waiver as requested for the maintenance areas.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Okay. So at this point, then we're ready to make a motion on the waiver. Again, with conditioning this additional 150 square feet to be approved by the conservation administrator. So ready when you are.
And we believe the DEP comments were resolved, correct?
I think the understanding would be that the narrative submitted already meets the criteria for the minimum stormwater plan because there's no changes to it. Is that correct, Jackie?
Yeah, I guess we would be saying that the explanation that was submitted today about how basically the response to DEP comments would clarify that in addition to the narrative in the application.
Okay, I will suggest a motion to grant a waiver for work within the buffer zone for 476, 478, 482 Boston Street, map 7, lot 4 and 5.
Conditioned on what we
Oh,
felt.
conditioned on the addition of 152 square feet of mitigation plan to be approved by the conservation agent prior to the start of work.
Posts?
And the restoration of the conservation posts.
I think that's everything. I second that motion.
Okay, and how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kayla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Alrighty, and I think we're now ready for the main motion.
I will suggest a motion to issue an order of conditions for NOI 307-0877 at 476, 478, and 482 Boston Street, map 7, lot 4 and 5 under the Act and bylaw, not confirming any wetland flags with standard and special conditions, including the additional special condition that any of the 12 conservation posts and markers be replaced at the edge of lawn in locations to be determined by the conservation agent, and amended plan showing the 152 square feet of mitigation area to also be confirmed by the conservation agent prior to the start of work.
Second the motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
can I-
Before we take a vote.
You are actually approving 3 wetland flags. If you remember, we've
Oh, yeah,
submitted
you can amend it to be flags. It was flags B15 to B17.
Yep.
I amend the motion to include the approval of wetland flags B15 to B17.
Do I hear that amendment seconded?
I second that amended motion.
Okay, thank you. And how do we vote on the amended motion? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Marnie Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kyla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
All right, thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You as well, thank you. Okay, so that concludes our hearings for the evening. I think at this point, we could either take a break for 5 minutes right now, or we can just try to barrel through the rest of what's on our agenda. I'll ask the commission what their opinion is.
I'm good going.
I'm fine to barrel.
Okay.
Let's continue.
All right, let's keep going. So next on our list is a review of 10 High Street Invasive Species Management Plan and SWPPP. And I'll ask if there's anyone on the call that's able to go over this with us. Please introduce yourself and let us know what you're looking for.
I'll go first. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Jim DeVellis. I'm with DeVellis Serene, and we're the civil engineers and landscape architects for the Emerson Homes, the 10 High Street project that you guys reviewed and approved quite a while ago. So my part tonight is we provided the SWIP that's on the agenda to be reviewed, and also Mark Arnold is here tonight accompanying me with his report that he submitted from the Goddard Consulting Group.
Mark Arnold here on behalf of the applicant with Goddard Consulting.
Thank you. So I don't know if it makes sense to share your screen and just give us an overview or whatever works. Yeah.
Sure. We can just do that. So the order of conditions required us to submit an invasive species management plan for management of invasives in the fields. That was under the findings section of the order of conditions. So we provided the assessment basically the area that is being managed. It's basically the areas outside the limit of work that are inside the existing field areas. That's areas here, here, and here. We broke them into 3 areas in terms of management zones, just because they're isolated from each other in terms of not being contiguous. Invasives in those areas, as typical with fields that overgrow, you've got multiflora rose, autumn olive, glossy buckthorn, burning bush, and Orient Asiatic bittersweet. These areas are all within the buffer zone to either BVW or I believe I'm trying to remember if it's IVW or not. My apologies. I'm not 100% covered on all the exact resource designations there. The plan does discuss control and eradication measures for each invasive species. Talks about the multiflora rose. Our goal with these species would be to do cut stem to treat each woody species at its base with herbicide to target the root system. Treatment typically would be done in the late summer to early fall to maximize the treatment being taken to the roots while the plants go dormant to ensure that it's there. We walk through each species in turn. Hand removal. If the plant is small and chemical treatment is not really feasible, we'll do hand removal wherever possible. We have weed wrenches or shovels that we can use to extract the plant, being careful of all the roots. All the work would be monitored by a wetland scientist during the treatment. Again, as mentioned before, we would be focusing primarily here. We think it's going to be primarily cutting and dabbing with herbicide because it's mostly woody species that we'll be able to go after. We're not looking at anything in the herbaceous in terms of we don't have knotweed and we don't have other like Phragmites that we're not dealing with those types of species where we would have to use more.
Could you scroll slower?
sorry. I wasn't sure how
Thank you.
much you'd actually seen this. I know we
Yeah.
submitted. So in terms of cutting and dabbing is the primary method. In terms of that, just because that we shouldn't have, we don't have any trees that we're expecting, but again, we just have it here just in case it does come up. In terms of the treatment there, we don't anticipate foliar spraying because we don't have anything that's particularly herbaceous or non-woody. And again, as knotweed and phragmites here, but it is there as a potential option that is available to us. The timing, again, as I mentioned, would be treatments in the late spring, early summer, and late summer, early fall. Based on the species and their the best use of those treatments. We'd be doing, again, reports to the commission on an annual basis by November 15th, documenting the spring and post and the fall treatments there. And that would be for a period of each year until a certificate of compliance is issued.
Okay. Jackie, any comments on your reading of this? I mean, it looks okay to me. This isn't my area of expertise, but I think this all makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I guess just to clarify the background on this, one of the conditions on the order of conditions was that this plan would be submitted and approved by the Conservation Commission specifically before they can start work on this project. So that's why we're here. It's not part of the hearing because the hearing was already closed in 2023. So we're just discussing these documents that were conditions on that permit, which was, can anyone remind me what the number was for that order of conditions? Maybe we should say that. Let me see. Just for the record, I feel like we should.
It was DP 307832.
Yes.
And this is in relation to special condition number. Oh, where is it? I'm sorry, I just had it in front of me. Number 13, special condition number 13.
Okay. Hearing no comments on this plan, I think that all sounds good to us. I'll just note that.
I do have a question.
Sure.
So does the plan specify how long this program will be in effect? The presenter said until the commission approves, but it seems to me that was there like a time?
So typically, we actually have this written to be basically a monitoring will be conducted once a year until a certificate of compliance is issued. So typically, the construction of this type of project is going to last at least 2 years for construction based on the size. If the commission wanted us to specify clearly or clarify that further, we could definitely amend this to classify exactly a minimum number of years if you wanted that.
Yeah, I was just wondering if the original requirements from the commission had a time frame in it.
Nope. No, there was nothing there. Let me, I can share the original order right here.
So the original order did have plantings, which we would normally monitor for 2 years. We also have an environmental monitor during the project required. But I believe we would need the planting monitoring to be completed before the certificate of compliance could be issued. So the invasive species monitoring based on this proposed plan would be continuing throughout that time.
Okay, so we don't need to say that this management plan needs to go on for at least 3 years. We don't have to specify the time because it's until the commission is satisfied, right?
Yeah, that's my understanding. We wouldn't issue the
Okay.
certificate of compliance until we're happy that this was completed. I'll just note that Millie has let me know that she is a direct abutter and therefore will be recusing herself from this discussion.
Okay.
Okay. Hearing no other comments on this, we can move on to the next one. And thank
So
you
do
for
we need to approve?
Don't we
Do
have
we
to
need
vote?
to approve the plan?
So
Yes.
I'm sorry, just with, we're gonna go over the stormwater and the revised O&M, right?
Okay.
Or are we just? I would say do a motion of all of them. I just, in terms of the discussion of this one, if we're happy with it, I think we can move on to the next one.
Okay, I guess so. The other topic was the SWIP, to review the SWIP. So we had submitted stormwater pollution prevention plan to the commission. And then a little quickly, in our drainage report that we did, when it was approved, we did an operation and maintenance plan. And then the conditions are kind of limited that the SWIP that's in the SWIP plan really be accepted as the operation and maintenance plan by the Topsfield Conservation Commission. So what you have in front of you is, in the drainage report, there was a 45 page and it was pretty general about operation and maintenance prior to, during, and post construction. And then we went ahead and filed the National Pollution Discharge Elimination, and received that permit. As part of that, the SWIP was included with it. So the SWIP is a 65-page document that goes into a lot more detail of operation and maintenance, has contractors, logs, very, very detailed truck washing areas, things like that. So what you have in front of you is the operation and maintenance plan and the drainage report, which I would suggest keeping it, but then to the conditions of the special condition, which was 3, we had to submit the SWIP to you for review. So that's what was submitted to you for review. Does that make sense? It's a little odd.
Right. Jackie, have you had a chance to review these documents?
Yeah, I looked through the documents and I think they seem approvable.
Okay. There's nothing that you think would be worth us seeing right now that we couldn't just go read ourselves?
Yeah, I don't think anything stood out to me, but we could go through it and just go over the big ideas of what it is.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense.
I'm glad to walk that through. So just to be clear, we're going to be the environmental monitor. So myself and a colleague of mine will be doing these inspections. I'm a certified professional in erosion sedimentation control. I prepared these SWIPs, although I didn't prepare this one. The engineer did. So very familiar with that. So we will have wetland scientists doing the SWIP inspections. So we do have an extra level of sensitivity. On top of that, we will be on site only to do invasive species monitoring and SWIP inspections. So we're not going to be tied to other activities on sites in terms of our schedule. So we'll be actively inspecting the site when appropriately to ensure that we're documenting things after storms, etc., to ensure that things are carefully monitored, and we'll be following up with the contractor to make sure they're implementing measures when they need to be implemented as soon as possible, so that way the contractor doesn't get distracted. So just to be clear, the applicant did hire a third party in terms of their team, so that way the contractor is not kind of deciding which he wants to do today, SWIP inspections or actual site work.
Maureen and Ben, is this a document that you think is worth opening up and scrolling through quickly? I mean, I doubt we can cover 65 pages of stuff.
I would defer to Jackie.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that I'll have much to contribute.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I can just show you like the table of contents so you know what's included, but
sure.
It has like information on the characteristics of the site. It has like sedimentation, erosion control plan, layout, materials, etc., just all the plans that are relevant. It has the best management practices for erosion and sediment control, which include this list. It describes in more detail the good housekeeping best management practices, and then the inspections. There's also the record keeping, the log of changes, the training, final stabilization, certification, and notification. So they'll be doing the inspection reports, the logs, just making sure that we're complying with all the requirements for stormwater pollution prevention.
If you're
Yeah,
satisfied, Jackie, I'm satisfied.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, page by page if you want.
Okay. Hearing no other discussion, do we have a motion to approve these plans? Unless,
I'll make a motion to approve the SWIP and the invasive species management plans.
I second that motion.
and how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bressingham, aye.
Ben Calla, aye.
And Millie Manning is recusing herself. Okay, thank you very much for submitting those. Looking forward to see how the project develops.
Very good. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Take care.
Yep. Alrighty. Moving on to our next topic, we have a violation at 249 Raleigh, or potential violation at 249 Raleigh Ridge Road, map 80 lot 002, unauthorized activities in wetland resource area. Jackie, I'll let you take over here and give us a little overview of what you saw.
Yeah, so I think Kevin McHugh, the consultant for the applicant or the property owner, which is Alfalfa Farm, is on this call, so he might have something to say. But we discussed some of the violations that were reported at past meetings. Mainly that was concerns about mowing in the wetland, about parking in the buffer zone, and about the tick spraying. And I've asked to address the mowing issue, that they install some of our typical conservation posts and markers at the edge of the wetland, just to prevent future mowing in the wetland, since it seemed like, despite it having been staked before, that the mowing continued to go on in the wetland throughout earlier this year. I'm not sure if those have been installed yet, but I know Kevin had picked up the markers for me this week. So maybe he can give an update on that. But then the parking concerns, it's been reported to me about various areas of the buffer zone that have had parking in them. I know a lot of customers show up at the farm to enjoy Alfalfa Farm, and I think it seems like the parking needs are a lot higher than anticipated, perhaps because of the popularity of the location. So there's been lots of cars parked there. I've seen photos. And there's concern that if cars are habitually parking on the grass in the buffer zone, that it can cause damage to the ground cover and soil over time, and that can be an alteration of buffer zone, which we don't want. I know that Alfalfa Farm is proposing to file a notice of intent for something related to parking. I haven't seen the plan, but I know we had a site visit where we discussed some options for long-term solutions for parking on the site. The there's an area that's on the other side of the building from the parking lot that was previously reviewed by planning board that was outside of the buffer zone, aside from grading. And the other area, the one that's near that fence that we discussed earlier with the RDA, it has some gravel area, some area that has historically and presently been either grass or weeds growing around the gravel. And it seems like that area is also being used for parking, which could potentially change the character of the ground surface at that area. So I know we had discussed options for like notice of intent for like a more established parking lot with mitigation potentially, and then just a plan for in general where the parking would take place and how that would be managed and kept within the boundaries of what we decide and ultimately approve. There was a schedule submitted to myself and the planning board for the timeline of events for submitting those permit applications. I did comment that the idea of having the peer review take place before submitting the notice of intent is not our typical procedure. Typically, we would want to see the plans first before we can decide whether to put it out to peer review and go from there. So I had some concerns about that schedule, but and then I also mentioned that the tick spraying under our regulations needs to be under a notice of intent so we can confirm that it's in keeping with all applicable laws. I think that was everything that I could think of, but Kevin, if you're still on, I don't know if you had anything else to add or if anyone else from Alfalfa Farm is here.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Yeah, this is Kevin McHugh with Lindbrook Consulting. And yeah, Jackie, I think you did cover everything. I know it was a pretty substantial list. But to provide an update, a little bit more information, I guess, from what Jackie just mentioned, there's addressing the issue with the buffer zone and parking. We did go back out, and unfortunately, the stakes that had been put in before had been removed, but those have been all reinstalled. So all those perimeter delineation stakes that were originally put up a couple of months ago, those are back reinstalled. And in fact, I drove by this afternoon, and they all still are there. Using those, I know Jackie and I, you and I talked about this the other day. Using that line, the contractor is going to go out and put the commission's required 4x4 posts in. And I did talk to the contractor, who I think is also online too, listening. But he's already picking up the materials, and he's planning on putting all the conservation posts in next week. So those will all be installed by the end of next week. And then Jackie, as soon as they're in, I know you and I discussed locations or would be best to put those posts. Once those are in, we'll let you know. But the plan is to have all of those in by the end of next week. So those posts will be in to delineate the limit of the resource area. And then regarding parking, and a longer term parking plan, I pulled together a revised parking layout that we've been discussing with the property owner. And actually, we're going to be meeting on Friday just to go over it one more time in detail. So we will have that. I'm hoping to have that ready and submitted as an NOI, as part of an NOI for the next meeting. So I'm hoping it looks like we'll be able to do it, and that's what the goal is. But that NOI it's going to be more of a comprehensive NOI where we go into, as Jackie mentioned, we are going to include not only parking in that, but we're also going to address insect management, snow management. So it's going to cover a lot more things than just parking itself. But we are looking at not only having sort of, I guess, a little more expanded in that area that was originally proposed. So outside of the buffer zone, kind of extending where people are parking now. So to keep as much of the parking as possible outside of the wetland buffer zone, but then also potentially looking at areas that could be used potentially as overflow areas if needed, but have them more defined, and then maintenance programs put in place if we do need to reestablish vegetation that might get disturbed or whatever. But just to try to keep parking as much as possible away from the buffer zone. I know from talking to, I was out there actually for the first time one of the weekends recently, and During the weekends, if you go out there, you can see Alfalfa Farms, they do have people out there that direct parking. So they're trying to keep, the owner himself is really trying to be careful to keep parking away from the resource area as much as possible. The site is very popular and people really like it, and which is great. It's been very successful, but understanding, they're trying to juggle having this property that's been very successful and popular to be able to accommodate people as best they can while working outside of the restrictions that are on site. But hopefully this more formal parking program, when this is set up, will help it to make sure that it's a lot clearer where people can park, and also be able to set up areas that can accommodate the additional visitation that they're having. So that's, again, hoping to get that in before the next filing deadline so that we can then discuss it further in detail. But that's kind of where we are with everything now. So it's moving forward. I mean, they're not stopping and trying to improve things out there. And so we're going to continue to, try to do the best we can to work within the restrictions and make the town and everyone happy as best as we can. So I'd be glad to discuss any questions or anything people might have.
No, I think having a formal plan in front of us is definitely the best path forward. Personally, I'm willing to take you by your word that these posts will be installed soon and the mowing will stop. But if, by the next meeting, things haven't happened, then I think that we may need to take action on our part. But I mean, I'll look to the rest of the commission on their opinion there. This is not a formal, I'm not saying that formally yet. But yeah, no, I think having a plan in place is going to make things a lot clearer for everyone, and just, we can just refer back to it and make things a lot easier for everyone.
Agreed.
Ben and Maureen, any thoughts?
Nope.
Okay. So it sounds like if we're okay not taking any action tonight, and then we'll have an NOI next meeting to discuss.
The tick spraying is stopped?
That has stopped, yes.
Are you taking public comments?
Yeah, we can. But
I mean, I think you kind of know this is John Monaco from 281 Roserbridge Road. Okay. And, I've talked to other neighbors, and I told them I'd stick on this line tonight.
Yep.
But the thing that aggravates me, and the engineer's there now, I don't know if he was the original engineer of the original parking area, but that parking area was never completed to grading, okay? Grading alone was for like 85 cars, okay? I don't care what they were going to put down, just the grading alone would accommodate 85 cars, all right? Now, if that wasn't enough, then I guess they would have to go someplace else. The way that showed was it was an entrance and exit out the front, okay, right in the parking area. There was also a roadway across the front, parallel to the roadway, adjacent to the roadway, out to another exit. The back gravel road was never even talked about. And I talked about this before when we talked about the fence. They came in there with asphalt grindings and started putting it down because it was too sloppy to exit out the back. Now, this is ongoing and ongoing. The people there, and, Paul and I have talked, he is not showing good faith in anything he does there, okay? The place looks beautiful, and then they go to, just the other day, they stuck 2 tents out in front of the beautiful place they got there between the building and the street. They put up 2 tents, and they took them down within 1 day, okay? The parking is the most important thing there, as well as where they're parking the cars for the expansion. Yep. I'm glad that somebody, addressed the wetlands. I knew that a lot of those stakes were knocked down, but, I figured if you walked around, and I know that the planning board was out there, but this whole thing evolves around the parking. And he had the guts to go to the planning board and to the zoning, well, it was the zoning board originally, then the planning board, and tell them that the parking material they were going to put down wasn't what he wanted. Well, if that's the case, then he shouldn't even got the occupancy permit to bring business in there. No other person in the town can do that. So that's my my comment. I'm like you. I don't believe a damn word he says, and I'd like to have that the engineer address that if he was the original parking designer.
Um, I'll
It's a yes
let
or
the
no.
engineer answer whatever they're comfortable answering.
No,
But
I'm saying if he is, I'm just saying yes or no. I mean, was he the original designer? That's all. That's all I have to say.
The original designer of what? I'm not sure what the question is.
The parking lot.
The original design of the parking lot that was last presented to the planning board?
Yes, the parking lot that they did not build.
I did design that parking lot, yes.
So why didn't they build it? You're the engineer. You're supposed to be.
Sir, I'm sorry. We're discussing buffer zone right now. We're not discussing the parking lot that is outside the purview of that. I think, unfortunately, you're going to have to take that up with the planning board. And I appreciate your comments and I appreciate you staying on, but what this commission's purview is within the buffer zone. And that parking area that was originally presented is outside the buffer zone, except for the grading along the edge of it. And so unfortunately, I think that's outside the scope of our current discussion.
But we have requested a notice of intent describing the plans for the parking as it relates to the wetlands in the buffer zone. And that is a document that we expect to get and might be the subject of our next meeting, depending on the timing of when we receive that notice of intent describing the parking plan. So we'll have more information on that later.
And the only thing I'm concerned about that they won't be able to build the parking lot, because if it goes into October, November, you're not going to build it. So, I don't know what's going to result in that from the winter. That's all my comments.
No, and we, again, I appreciate you staying on and stating these. I think in terms of what we can respond to in this meeting, it is limited. I think we'll have more information at our next meeting with what this commission has, purview over. And I think I would suggest that these comments get directed towards the planning and zoning board, as I think that they are the relevant body.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to commend the commission tonight for handling. I listened to all your different NOIs and whatnot, and you did a fantastic job on it. You guys just move right along.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. Any other discussion on this topic? I don't think we need any action on it tonight, but again, looking forward to having an NOI for our next meeting. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is Enforcement Order 2026-01 for 110 Perkins Row, map 51, lot 101, unauthorized activity in the wetland resource area. So Jackie, if you want to give us an update.
Yes, so Chris Moody, who is a property owner at 110 Perkins Row, reached out to me in response to my calls on which I had called him to update him on our last meeting and what we had talked about. But he let me know that he intends to pursue restoring the area to prior condition rather than a notice of intent for now. I think he might be on this call to talk to us, but that's what I heard from him. And I had requested that he could provide us a plan for the restoration. And it looks like I do have that in an email that I got this evening. So I can share that with the commission. But what I recommend is that we review the restoration plan and we decide whether to approve it or require anything additional, and whether to amend the enforcement order to add additional deadlines. And if so, we could issue an amended enforcement order. And let me just share that restoration plan that I just got this evening. So the timeline here, it says installed erosion control was completed by August 29th. It would be removing all equipment and trailers from the lawn. Equipment necessary for future work there would be stored in the driveway, and other equipment moved off property. By September 2nd, there would be aerating and leveling of any compacted soil and ruts, hand picking rocks, broken turf clumps, or any fallen debris, and reseed with native wetland seed mix or conservation wildlife mix. And then from then on, watering as needed until the vegetation is established, and monitoring for any runoff.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think for Millie's sake, who may not be, you know, this is, we might have discussed it at the last meeting, so you might have seen some of that.
Yeah, I saw the last update, but
okay. I mean, yeah, the area that I think was disturbed was primarily lawn, so I think this would pretty much recapture it, and this timeline looks aggressive but feasible.
Can I speak? Can I speak
Sure,
to this for a second?
please. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If you could just introduce yourself.
Thanks for your time, guys. I really appreciate it. Chris Moody, 110 Perkins Row. Yeah, appreciate your time. So basically, we moved and we're going to be selling that piece of property.
Okay.
So I will be seeking a notice of intent. I'm not going to meet Title V as I currently stand. So I'm dealing with a septic engineer, but I was trying to get all my plans in place before I filed the permit. That's the whole reason this all got, set back. But basically, just because of other stuff I got going on, I was just trying to get you guys satisfied, and I don't want to be holding everybody up while I'm waiting for other people, and then file the notice of intent. So like that front area that's disturbed now is the furthest from the resource area, and it's already, impacted by the street, right? It's the front yard. That's what we're looking at for the location of the septic. It's the least impactful area. Yeah. So basically, this fall, I don't know if this restoration plan impacts this, because like if it doesn't, the vegetation doesn't actually get to the point where it's growing by the time I'm filing a notice of intent. Is that going to be an issue, or how would I go about that?
So just to clarify, we have a violation right now with equipment on the front of the property, and the lawn has been somewhat disturbed. But your goal over the next couple months is to put in a new septic system in that area. I remember in the photos, there's a bunch of trees.
That's correct. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm going on vacation. I meant to get you guys some pictures, and there's like 7 or 8 completely dead trees. 4 of them, no bark. All of them, no vegetation. Yeah, they're still standing.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the ones on my neighbor's. It's on our property line, basically, and it overhangs his like $80,000 septic system, and like his driveway and where his kids play and all that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that. I actually sent that in the email to Jackie. Like, could I file it? Would I file a notice of intent to just take the trees down before I reseed and all that, so that I'm not, working in that area? Does that make sense what I just asked?
Yeah, no, so there's kind of 3 things happening then. There's a future septic system, the current removal of trees, and then the restoration / violation.
Correct. And the trees are also associated with the septic.
Yeah.
Most of them. 4 of the dead ones are not in the way of the septic. They're off to the left.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the cleanest path forward would be one NOI that captures the after the fact disturbance and restoration, the removal of the trees, and the septic and all in one. And Jackie, please correct me if there's a better way to do this. I think that's probably the cleanest path forward, but we have this disturbance, and so depending on when that future NOI could come in, we don't want the area to further degrade with all of the equipment and damage. So we're kind of having two conflicting timelines here. And I'll let
Yeah,
Jack.
that's why I figure. Sorry about that. That's why I figure it might just make sense to restore it. Because that I can do. I know you said timeline's aggressive, but like a lot of the equipment and stuff I've already moved off, and it was only in the lawn because we were moving. Honestly, I have to sell the house. I got 2 mortgages and 2 tax bills at the currently. We're still in Topsfield. We're just on the other side of town. But I'm dealing with 2 sick parents, and my in-laws need our help. So it's just a lot going on at the moment. So that's why it's been delayed.
Yep, we understand, and we appreciate you being here tonight. I know it's late, so thank you for sticking around.
No worries.
I would agree. I think you pursue the restoration plan. And if you get the NOI ready for the septic, bring it in front of us, and then we could always look at where we got on the restoration plan.
Yeah,
that seemed like the cleanest way forward. My only thing was the trees that are dead, completely dead, right? Would I be allowed to take those down before I repair the lawn? Like I have a boom lift sitting underneath them right now, basically, a 90-foot boom lift that's on the lawn that I'm going to move out in the driveway.
So how many total trees would be the final number that you're looking to take down, live and dead?
Okay, so there's 4 completely dead on the property line that won't impact the septic, has nothing to do with that. They're just dead and whatever. There's 3 more that are dead that are right in the front lawn, close to the house, 1 leaning towards the house. And then there is 5 more trees in that area, 1 white pine and 5 red pines.
Okay, so that's 12.
So total, we got 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, 12. So 12.
I can get pictures and all that to you guys if you need.
Yeah, 12 is above the TCAP number, right, Jackie? So
yes.
It would require coming in front of us in some way. And even if you break it apart into 2 things, I mean, we're going to count it as 12 trees getting taken down in general.
So even if I did the dead ones now and the other ones when I have the septic plan and we know what we're doing, if the trees can stay, great. I don't know that at this point. I don't know if any of them can stay.
Yeah, so in Riverfront, it can't be a TCAP. That's part of our bylaw, so it would have to be at least an RDNI. But it probably, I think 12 might be too many for an RDNI. But if they're hazardous, they can, and it's like, I think I've said like less than 10 at least. And all
So maybe
would have to be hazardous for an RDNI, but it might be easier to just put it all into one notice of intent, honestly.
I just figured I'd do less impact to the area, especially for the 4 trees that are off to the left that won't be impacted by the septic because the boom lift is sitting right underneath them currently. So once I move that out of there, like I'm going to repair that area, and I got a crane I can take them down with, like, but it'll still be on that section of lawn, basically.
Well, either way, you're going to need approval to take the trees down. You're going to need approval for the septic work. For the septic work, you're going to have to get, an engineer to do the design for the septic work. For the trees,
that's what I'm currently waiting on. Yeah,
you're gonna have to get an arborist to make a determination whether the trees are healthy or if they're, not, if they're hazardous. So it's up to you if you want to bundle them all together or if you want to break them down as separate tasks and present the request separately.
Okay, and then what would I submit that on? Would that be a notice of intent?
The septic work would be a notice of intent. Definitely. The removal of, say, the 4 dead trees, if you're going to treat it separately, that potentially could be an RDNI. I'll definitely look to Jackie on.
What does that stand for?
Request for determination of negligible impact.
Okay, yep, okay.
Right, so for that, you would need an arborist letter that says that they're hazardous and why.
Okay. Yeah, so those 4 trees have been, I can do that, that's fine. Just a side note, those 4 trees have been dead for about 2 years. They got no vegetation on them. They don't really catch any wind, but at some point they're just going to be not supporting themselves, or there's just nothing left of them. So
it sounds like you've got a lot going on, and however you want to handle the logistics, if it makes better sense for you to do the trees separately under an RDNI and then get the notice of intent for the septic, get your ducks in a row, or you can bundle it together. Whatever works for you.
okay. I just feel like that area is not going to be impacted by the septic at all, but it is damaged now. It seems like it would make more sense for that area of the property to not to just take them down now while it's already damaged, and then I repair it, and it won't have to be touched again.
Well, so what I'm hearing then is that the issue is that the restoration plan that you have in front of us, you don't want to do until you have this potential RDNI approved, so that you can take these 4 trees down before you do the restoration plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is just new to me. I didn't know if I could put those trees on the restoration plan, or if how I would go about it. That's basically what I'm saying. It would be the least impactful way to go about repairing that section of lawn and not disturbing it again later.
So you would need to apply to the commission again and come to a future meeting for the tree permit.
Okay.
So you wouldn't be able to do that before the restoration according to your timeline. The other thing is, with the tree permits, we require that it be removed by crane with all the equipment staying in the driveway or the roadway. That's a standard requirement we have for all of our tree removals. So I'm thinking that it would still work for you to do the restoration and removing the equipment first and then doing the tree permit, just because we require the equipment be on the paved areas.
Okay, and I can talk to you about this later. Would they make any kind of waiver for the fact that the piece of equipment is already there, or is that just not even a
I think
factor?
it's not their it permitted.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think
current
that.
I understand.
Your current restoration plan has all of the equipment being removed anyway. So to even get to your first step of that, it would have to get.
I get you. I get you.
Restoration is most important to us.
All right. Do you guys need anything else from me, or?
So
I do have some
essentially,
questions, but I can talk to you, Jackie, next week if that works.
So I think the only motion that we would
sorry.
potentially make would be updating our deadlines for this restoration work to occur. And I'm personally okay taking your timeline as is, so that that would
appreciate that. I'm in New Hampshire right now, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, we want the work to get done, and the fact that you can do it yourself and you can get it done, I'm all good with that being the way things go forward, as long as you do it safely.
Of course. Yeah, I have a crane, and the trailers and stuff, equipment to move it. So.
Okay. All right. So I think we're looking for a motion on updating deadlines. The plan, the restoration plan, Jackie, that you showed us, do we just need the final deadline for the work to be updated, or do you want to include deadlines for the other components of it?
I think we
step by step.
We can, either way, we could do both steps, or we could just say for all of it to be completed by September 2nd, and then watering to go beyond that.
The repair and this.
Yeah, the restoration piece.
All right. So what is that date where we would get into watering? Would be
September 2nd, I think the plan is.
September 2nd. So we good with the motion coming forward?
Only other thing would be potentially any type of the ability for Jackie to take a look at things as they progress. Is there any dates that you'd want to be able to go there, Jackie?
Yeah, I would say notify me when each step has been completed, and contact me for a visit when each step of the 2 steps have been completed.
Yeah, and you guys are welcome by whenever. It's right in the front yard, so.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I think that plan makes sense to me.
All right, so I'll put forth a motion to amend EO 2026-01 to require the area to be restored by September 2nd, 2026, and that all the proposed milestones be communicated with the conservation agent when complete.
Second that motion.
And how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kyla, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
All right, thank you for sticking around. We look forward to seeing the restoration and then some other requests and NOIs in the future.
I appreciate all your time. And so Jackie, I'll contact you about like how to move forward with the other steps, and I'll contact you when I complete each step so you can come out. Is that?
Yes, that's right.
Yep.
And I can advise you about the applications for the other work.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye. Alrighty, moving on to amended enforcement order 2016-01, amended enforcement order 2022-04, amended enforcement order 2024-4, all three of those for 20R, 21, and 25 Johns Lane, map 76, lot 004. And I think we're looking for conservation marker update. So if there's anyone on the call that can give us an update, please do.
Hi, everyone. Once again, Kevin McHugh with Lindbergh Consulting. Sorry, sorry you have to spend the late night here. But I'd be glad to give you an update. So I'm here representing the Laughtons at 25 Johns Lane. So they have done a lot of work out there again, continuing to make sure everything is completed that's required. And I'm happy to report that I was told today by Mr. Lawton that all of the conservation posts are in. We did pick up, or I picked up the copies of the plaques from Jackie, so those have been put on. I've only seen some of them. I went by the property a couple times as they were being installed, so I did see some of them. There was only a few left, as far as I could tell, that needed to get put in, and I was told that they were installed today. So it looks like everything is in. I know there's a lot of them that are out there, a lot of conservation posts. So I'm hoping to go by either tomorrow or Friday just to confirm that all that were required are in. But I know I did see a lot going in out there. So and Mr. Lawton had the plans that had been agreed on, I think back in February. So he had said he's installing them based on locations that were sort of picked and approved then. And I know we've gone back and forth with Jackie on locations. So pretty confident that everything's in there, and I think everything's all set. So I think we're in good shape.
Do you have any photos documenting the installation?
Yeah, I can share. I've got a couple. Unfortunately, they don't show really well because, they're spread out quite a bit, but I can show you some just to give you a general idea.
Yeah.
So these are ones I took, if you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is behind the house. This is when the first 3 went in behind the house. This is obviously before the placards went on, but these are behind the home. If I change the photo, let me know if you can see it when I change it. Can you see this new picture?
No.
Not yet.
All right, for some reason I have to stop sharing and then share again. So it's coming.
Yep.
So here's one along the
There it is.
driveway. There's a couple more down here that you can't see. And I can keep going if you want.
Nope, it's good. These
Okay.
enforcement orders have been in play for, the oldest one is from 2016. So it's nice to kind of get to the point where we are where we need to be. This is good news.
I'm so happy right now.
That's I know the ones are out in front of the house. I did see when I was there last time, there was some right along outside the bridge. I haven't seen the others out there. They weren't in yet. But he said those are all in. So we spent a lot of time putting a lot of posts in. So
Okay. Yeah, definitely looking forward to you going out there and then taking some photos and sending those to Jackie.
Yeah.
Jackie I'm assuming that somewhere in the conditions you'll have a final site visit or something along those lines? Is that something that you would want to do?
Yeah, I think if the photos are clear enough, I might not need to confirm the conservation markers are there, but if you can send me photos by early next week, just confirming that they're there, and I'll let you know if I think I need to follow up with a site visit. But we do have the monitoring reports expected in the future, so hopefully at that time we can also get some positive updates on the planting areas and the markers still being there. So
Yeah, I know, I think I mentioned the other day, I know I owe you I guess we'll call it an as-built for the plantings. So I'll pull that together too and include that in the report. When I go out and take a look at the posts, I'll mark those on the plans that you had sent over to me, so we can just show all the ones that went in.
Great.
Great.
All right, I don't think we need any action on our part tonight then. So thank you very much.
No, thank you. I hope you guys have a lovely rest of the night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, next up, change of date and filing deadline for the November 2026 meeting. Sounds like we scheduled it for Veterans Day, so we need to move it either a week early or a week late. Jackie, do you have a preference on either of those?
I don't have a strong preference, so if anyone else has anything in their calendars, I know going a week later, we might be getting closer to Thanksgiving in November. I don't know if that causes an issue for anyone. But Thanksgiving would be the 2 weeks after the 11th, so maybe it's not an issue. Let's see. So going from our October meeting, which is on the 14th, it would be a typical 4 weeks until the 11th, and then it would be another 4 weeks to the 9th. So either way, we're going to make it so there's one 5-week interval and one 3-week interval between meetings.
Yep.
It's
So,
just a
so
matter
I
of
would
which way.
prefer the 4th, because I'm looking at the calendar, and Monday, the 16th of November, there's like one of these training sessions that goes from 6 to 7:30. And I would rather not have to make sure that I can be home from Cambridge by 6, 2 nights that same week. Or, home by Cambridge for meetings 2 nights that same week.
So you prefer the 4th?
I prefer the 4th.
Okay. Anyone else have preference?
No preference.
No preference.
Sounds good.
Great. Easy. All right, someone want to make a motion changing that date?
I'll make a motion to move our November meeting to the 4th of November, 27.
And then at the filing date, we would also move up a week earlier, the filing deadline. Yep.
And the filing deadline would be 1 week preceding.
Earlier. Oh.
Right?
Preceding. Yes.
Yeah.
1 week earlier than previous. So it would be 2 weeks.
I thought you
before
said
the 4th.
proceeding. I'm like,
Yeah.
preceding. Okay.
If
I
we
second
want a
that
date,
motion.
it would be the October 21st deadline.
Okay. Amended to the filing date would be October 21st.
I second that motion.
All right, and how do we vote? Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kyle, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.
Excellent, thank you. Approval of the fiscal year 2026 annual report. Jackie, if you want to give us a quick overview, I read through it. Everything looks good.
Yeah, I wrote the report, just it's not due until I think December or January, but I just thought while it was fresh in my mind, I would write it up. It's just summarizing the amount of permits we had last year and what else we did last year. I think I hope people are okay with it, but if we need more time to review it, I would understand. And Millie, if you want to abstain because you weren't there, it's up to you. But if you want to still vote with us, that's also fine if you feel comfortable. So
yeah, we can table this to next meeting if people need more time to review this. I looked over it and it looks good to me, but also happy to table it.
I did not look at it.
Okay.
Boo.
So we'll table it.
Sorry.
No. All good. Do we need a motion to table it because it's just an internal
No.
item? Okay, so we will table that to our next meeting. Next item to meeting minutes for July 8th, 2026. I looked over them, they look good. I know, Maureen, I don't think you were at that meeting, so I don't know if you had a chance to review the video. Otherwise, we don't have a body to vote on this.
Sorry, I didn't.
No worries. Okay, so we'll table that to our next meeting as well. I see the Audubon shared their annual report. They offered it to present at a future meeting, so I think given that it's 10:45, we table this as well. And if they want to come present it on hopefully one of our later meetings, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't think any action is required, so I think we can take it off the next agenda, and unless someone would like to request to me individually to have them present someday.
Yeah, I read over it. Looks great. I didn't see anything that flagged.
We don't have to approve it. It's just a notification to you all.
Okay.
And then last update for me is there's changes to the Wetlands Protection Act regulations coming likely this fall, and that will affect the way we operate and may even affect our regulations and policies, because we may have to make sure we match up with the Wetlands Protection Act if it changes. Comments are due August 20th, and commission members are encouraged to submit comments. I think I emailed you all the information on how to submit comments if you'd like to. You can let them know what you think of the proposed regulations. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Any other business to discuss before we close?
Nope.
All right. I will entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make a motion to close.
I second that motion.
And how do
You're
we
all
vote?
good.
Andrew Mulholland, aye.
Maureen Bresnahan, aye.
Ben Kyle, aye.
Millie Manning, aye.